A brand is what people think about when they think about you. A brand is how people feel. Branding is an experience. And so one of the things, I think the powerful things about a book is people seeing YouTube Secrets, seeing the red cover, seeing the whole brand lift it's kind of like number one, like your authority, but like the overall brand, it's lifted the perception of video influencers, my channel with Benji. It's lifted the perception of Think Media. It's lifted the perception of Sean Cannell. The brand has been strengthened of Sean Cannell. And this is sometimes less trackable, but it's more important for longevity.
If you want to impact people, increase sales, get featured in media, and invited on podcasts and stages, well, then you, my friend, should consider writing a book. In today's episode, Sean breaks down 10 lessons that he learned from writing the book YouTube Secrets. He's pulling back the curtain and sharing some little-known secrets that he learned, as well as sharing all of the details about how much he made and how this book has helped grow his influence. My name is Heather Torres, and you are listening to the Think Marketing Podcast, the #1 podcast that helps you grow your influence online and then turn that influence into a high profit and high impact YouTube online business. Well, in this episode, Sean is going to be diving into what he's learned from YouTube Secrets. And this episode is brought to you by StartYourBook.live, the free workshop that helps you go from blank page to published author in 90 days with Chandler Bolt from Self Publishing School. I'll tell you more about that at the end of today's episode, but let's jump into today's featured content.
So I'm so excited to dive into the untold story of writing the book YouTube Secrets and share 10 reasons why I think you should consider writing a book and lessons I've learned from writing a best-selling book. It's been quite a journey. And it all started really back in 2015 when I was on a plane ride from Las Vegas to Seattle to meet up with my friend Benji. We both had a background in YouTube. He had done channels related to real estate. Him and his wife had a vlog channel. He had a cooking channel. I'd been helping people build their YouTube channels. I was kind of behind the scenes doing video SEO, and I'd been experimenting on all kinds of different videos. I already started earning money with affiliate marketing and different income streams, just kind of dabbling, but had those income flows. So saw all the opportunity that was happening on YouTube. And we had this idea that we would just kind of co-write a book and share a message with the world. Little did we know that it was going to take multiple years, that we'd end up interviewing around 100 people whose stories and information went into the book, and that the book would become the #1 best-selling YouTube strategy book in the world. It was just crazy, and I learned a ton of lessons, but it actually all started with making a decision to write the book. I mean, we really didn't really know that there was going to be challenges ahead. Of course, it's going to be challenging. We didn't really necessarily know everything that would go into it or some of the delays or challenges or obstacles around the way, but we did plant our flag and make a decision to write a book. And the reason I did that kind of initially was just because I had mentors and people around me telling me the power of writing a book, how it'll boost your authority, how it'll position you. And so I made a decision, and that's kind of what it starts with. I'm going to give you some reasons and some lessons that I've learned, but I just kind of made a decision, not really knowing every detail that was going to come in the future, but we went all in, and now the results have been absolutely remarkable. And so here are just kind of 10 lessons, and I'll tell a few more details of the story as we go. But this is kind of why I wanted to write a book and lessons that we learned. The first one is authority. Being a published author elevates your positioning in the market. And what was interesting was even in 2015, 2016, when we just had YouTube Secrets as an idea, YouTube was already 11 years old, and yet there was actually no books on YouTube. Now, to be clear, there was probably 50 ebooks, maybe 100 ebooks. If you go to Amazon, there's always going to be a whole bunch of ebooks on whatever topic, but you can kind of tell that they're sort of sketchy. They're 33 pages long. There's 1.5 stars. Someone's like, this was full of misspellings and didn't make sense. And so when I say there was no books out, there was really no quality books on the market yet. A few have come out since then, but the authority, and maybe in your niche, you think, well, there's a ton of books books on my subject, and I think that's okay. But nevertheless, by writing a book on YouTube, knowing that I wanted to help people with YouTube, that I'd already been teaching video and help people with cameras and learning how to do video ranking and affiliate marketing, I just realized that being a published author elevates your authority and positions you in the market. Going into it, I actually knew that was the case, but I had no idea how true that would be. It's been amazing to experience the elevation of my personal authority and my brand. I think another thing is credibility. It sets you apart in your field as a leader and an expert. You know, it's not easy to write a book. It's worth it, but it's not easy. So when you do, you join the ranks of those who have overcome the obstacles with discipline and perseverance. I'm sure a lot of books have been started. They've never been finished. Once you get your book out there, once you actually hold it in your hands, you've got that credibility. And then one of my favorites is it really gives you a powerful hook in your introduction. Like if you're introducing yourself at a networking event in person, you could say, you know, hey, what is it you do? You go, well, you know, I help people with YouTube. I'm the author of, the #1 best-selling YouTube strategy book in the world, YouTube Secrets. I mean, you may kind of like try to play it, but you're just like, yeah, you know, I wrote a book. And by summing up, I wrote a book called YouTube Secrets. Like, that alone sort of is self-explanatory of your authority, of your positioning. And then in the beginning of videos, a lot of times I'll open up videos and say, hey, Sean here, best-selling author of YouTube Secrets and founder of Think Media. And so authority, the book has become a #1 best-selling Amazon seller. And in full transparency, we hit #1 in some pretty big categories. And I believe we cracked the top 100 when we launched the book. But you can become a #1 best-selling Amazon seller really easy. Like, you just categorize your book in like marketing, web development, Microsoft Word tools, and next thing you know, you put your book out, sell like 10 copies, and you'll be #1 in that category at least for 5 minutes. And I'm kind of joking, but to become a #1 Amazon seller is actually within reach of a lot of people. And again, that becomes an authority piece. And so that is one reason to consider writing a book. Number 2, mastery of my topic. Committing to the uphill climb of writing a book forced me to level up, and it has improved my content, and my videos have improved. See, when you commit to writing a book, you go, there's a lot of ideas going on in my head, but as soon as you sit down, you go, okay, wait a minute. Like, I'm not sure how clear my thoughts really were. If you think about, I really need to teach this now step by step or break this down step by step, you go, oh, there's a few gaps here. So writing a book, it requires research. It requires you to refine your ideas. And actually in the process, see, once we committed, we realized this would be stronger by starting an interview show. And at the time, Benji and I started a show called Video Influencers. And every week we would release an interview with an expert. But here's what happened. We learned so much from interviewing 100 experts that were like entrepreneurs doing YouTube or creators doing YouTube, and all of that went into the book. As a side benefit, by the way, we built our network and all these relationships with those people as well, all those connections, and it blew up our network. So even just that was really powerful, but mastery of my topic. Once I committed to helping people build their influence with YouTube, I wanted to learn as much as I could about the topic. So the process of committing to write a book, and this is why I want to encourage you to really consider writing one, is it's going to make you stronger. It's going to force you to level up. It's going to force you to understand your topic better. It's going to help you be a better coach, educator, encourager. It's going to give you more mastery of your topic. In our Inner Circle program, we have 10 steps for building a 6 to 7 figure media empire. And step number 1 is claim and master your topic. You can start a YouTube channel around your topic. That's good. You post 10 videos there, a little more authority. 100 videos there, more authority. You write a book and you get that book distributed well, meaning on Amazon, audiobook, ebook, and it's really, professional, and you put it out there. You've really claimed and mastered your topic at a whole nother level. And the other thing is it boosts your confidence. I mean, when you've written a book, like a real book, right? You're legit, like you're a bona fide author. You're like, man, I got a book. Like, I'm a published author. And that positions you and helps you master your topic at a whole nother level. Number 3 is you really get to impact people in a deeper way. I love this. Because, of course, people are going to buy your book. They might just leave it on the nightstand. They might read a quarter of it, which is significant. Even that is good impact. But a lot of people are going to read your entire book. And in a World where we are reading headlines, reading tweets, watching 15-second TikToks and Instagram reels, in a world where we're switching from show to show and video to video and our attention spans are shortening. The thing I love about books is depth. You get to unpack a topic. You get to have deeper impact by really massaging subject matter in such a way that it can be more transformational than just short form social media. And I really believe that writing a book is service. Like, you listening to this right now have knowledge and experience that can help others. So I believe you have a moral obligation to share it. And writing a book is a great way to get it out there and to reach people. And what's also been amazing is because we put our book out on physical book and ebook, the ebook is very easy to distribute around the world via Amazon through all kinds of different countries. So we've collected money from not just the US, but also the British pound, European countries, Japan, India, Canada, Brazil, Mexico, Australia. We've sold ebooks in all of those places. And I want to encourage you, and I'll share some resources, or you can always check out the training we're doing with my friend Chandler, at startyourbook.live. But this is so powerful because this isn't super hard to do, especially when you have someone just walking you through the steps, and you'll learn that on that training. It's not super hard to do, but Amazon gives us the distribution to get your life-changing message, your knowledge and experience in people's hands or on their iPads or their Kindle readers or their phones around the world, making a deeper impact. And what's also been crazy, and this is just some of the results and some of the story, a lot of people don't know that YouTube Secrets has now been translated into Vietnamese, Chinese, South Korean, Russian, Portuguese, and also into the Ukraine. And what's crazy about that is that each of those deals are additional deals where we've earned more money, where we actually get an advance, and then we get a portion of those sales once that advance has been met in sales in those local countries. So we didn't really know that YouTube Secrets was going to blow up. We wanted it to be as big as possible. We did a lot of marketing strategies, which is a topic for another day. But we definitely have now seen that when you put your heart into it, you put your work into it, you work with smart people, you put out a great book, that actually it has the chance, number 3, to impact people in a deeper way. And now it's impacting people in other languages. People that I wouldn't maybe be able to communicate with in the language I speak, English, are being transformed because I made the courageous decision to commit to writing a book. Number 4, revenue. Now, here's the principle you need to know if you haven't ever looked into writing a book before, or a business book, or a book as an entrepreneur. You usually never write a book to generate revenue. The mission of a book is exposure, awareness. You might break even, you might go negative, because it can lead to other business opportunities or other positioning, and that's what most people would say. Especially too, if you try to get traditionally published up front, you probably won't make much money. What you'll get is the prestige. You'll get the distribution, the publisher, and you may make $1 or $2 per book and whatever advance you can negotiate. However, self-publishing a book can actually be a lot more lucrative than people realize. And I realize these are some big numbers, but imagine if you just had a percentage of this success. So for YouTube Secrets, we have sold over 40,000 copies. We're coming up on 41,000 copies of the paperback and the ebook. The paperback's done about 22,000, the ebook's done about 19,000. And check out the total revenue we've kept and collected. Right? Ebook, a percentage goes to Amazon, 30% goes to Amazon. Paperback, it's via Amazon Create Space, because we are self-published, is through, it's you get $7 on a $15 book. There's their cut plus the cut of the book itself and shipping and whatever else. But out of 41,000 books sold, ebook and paperbacks, we have collected $150,000.89 so far. And the book continues to sell. So most people say, oh, don't write book to generate revenue. And we've generated a ton of revenue past that, but that's some serious money. And that is between 2018 and 2021. So that's over about 3 years. So it's about $50,000 per year just from the book, the ebook, and the paperback book. And later we'll talk about audiobooks as well as other ways to monetize as well. But number 4, generating revenue, especially when you're self-published, because you get higher percentages and more money will be left in your pocket. Here's the thing, you get your book out this year, It can sell next year, it can sell next year, and you can create another income stream in your business, your small business, your YouTube business. Which brings us to number 5, which is create leverage. Now, leverage is one of my favorite things. If you haven't really heard the term before, leverage means you do something today and that pays you tomorrow. I remember back, I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he said when you invest in real estate, you create leverage. Like you buy the real estate once, if somebody rents it from you, you get paid every month and it's going up in appreciation, and you don't have to work on that, like go to a job and trade time for money. That real estate is working for you while you're working at your job. That's leverage. Your book is leverage. You write it once, but guess what? You can keep on selling it. You clarify your idea. Again, you put in that work to clarify your frameworks, figure out your material, figure out the data and the research in it, but you get to keep teaching it. Now, every time you speak or communicate or get on video or do a training or go on a podcast, you've galvanized your message. I went on a sprint when we released YouTube Secrets, and I probably went on over 100 podcasts. I just said yes to every podcast. I got on some big ones. I got on some, like, someone was like, they have, 10 listeners. I'm like, yeah. I just went, and I wanted to actually get better at communicating. So part of that was practice. But now I had all of the messaging I had used and clarified in the book that I was able to just keep teaching it because it was strong. That was leverage. Material. When you put the effort into writing a book, that means you have a lot of material that you could use in other ebooks, blog posts, articles, podcasts, videos, infographics. So why should a YouTube content creator, Sean, why should somebody who's digital, doing video, write a book? Because it's going to give you content material for content marketing that can also help you generate leads, get more subscribers, get people on your email list. It can lead to future opportunities. Write the book once, future doors continue to open. Future people, I'm getting DMs right now from somebody else that wants to translate it into another language. Somebody else that wants to have me on their podcast and like, oh, hey, I would love for you to come on and talk about YouTube. I saw you wrote a book. They may have just discovered it. And even leverage with building our team. Like, all things being equal, would you rather work for the guy that's written a book on what his business does or the guy who hasn't? So I want to encourage you, like, by writing a book, even if you want to work in corporate America or work at a job or whatever you want to do, you with a book versus the person who doesn't have one, the person with the book just has more leverage. Number 6, getting public speaking opportunities. If you want to get paid to speak or get booked on stages or be invited to speak at conferences or to get on virtual stages, what is that? Podcasts, webinars, people's virtual summits, people's challenges. Write a book. It'll open more doors. And I remember my friend Michael Stelzner said that in the past, he had a filter for people he invited to social media marketing world, and he preferred that they had written a book. He's since updated that. Now he said that they've created a course or a big library of videos or something on YouTube, or they have the podcast. Why? But really actually a course or a book, because it means they've had to organize their thoughts. He's like, if they're going to be a good teacher, a good speaker, and they're going to speak on my stage at Social Media Marketing World, I want them to know a table of contents. I want them to have their ideas clear. And so that was one of his kind of filters for whether or not you made it to his stage in the past. It absolutely can help you get paid speaking gigs and free speaking gigs where you would speak for free, but you get the awareness, you get the platform, you get to maybe sell your book after, you get to maybe give a chance for people to opt in, and you can collect their information via getting a lead for your business, whatever you do. Number 7, you can reach more people with an audiobook. This, my friend, sounds funny, but the reason I think you should sit down and write a book is actually so you can create the audiobook. Why? Because you're listening right now to the Think Marketing Podcast. We are loving audio in culture today. You might be walking your dog, you might be on a commute, you might be doing chores around the house, you might be multitasking, editing a video, whatever it is that you're doing. I'm in your AirPods, right? I'm on your noise canceling Bose headphones right now. Audio is a major movement. Audio is a passive opportunity we have, whereas video is so powerful. Of course, we preach YouTube, but video you got to watch as well. Audio, I can listen while I do other things. And so an audiobook is this chance to, like my friend Pat Flynn says, scale intimacy. He says podcasts scale intimacy because we get to hang out like this in this intimate place. Think about an audiobook. It's not me just freestyling off of my notes. It's actually that you've written down like clear words and really put some effort into it. Now you're reading that and you get to take your message, your mission, your content, your frameworks, and really connect with somebody in a very personal way. So I actually believe that it is worth writing a book just so you can write an audiobook. And let's get into some data. YouTube Secrets, since March 2019. By the way, we didn't get the audiobook done until maybe 6 to 8 months after the first book came out. We have done a total of 19,819 units at the time of recording this. And the royalties, including bounties. And so just to define what that is, once you have the audiobook out, you have access to the Audible Bounty program, where if somebody signs up for a free Amazon trial membership, you get like $5. If they sign up for a higher level, you get like $10. If they use one of their credits, you get a certain amount of money. If they just pay cash, you get a certain amount of money, or they just use their card. So all the bounties, everything included, from under 20,000 units of the audiobook, $67,311 profit collected. Crazy, right? And so the powerful thing about that is that it also continues to sell, and it continues to be available on Audible. And, one of the things to consider is that once your book gets a little momentum, it starts being recommended by other books. People can download it today, download it tomorrow. That's leverage. Be listening to it today, be listening to it tomorrow. And so another huge reason that actually this was more of a lesson and a surprise going into it. I wasn't like the audiobook is the thing. I almost think like the audiobook is the thing. And I think that, of course, the ebooks and the physical are amazing as well. But man, audiobooks are crazy, and they connect, especially if you're going to launch a video podcast or a podcast of some kind, or even YouTube, because a lot of people listen to YouTube and turn off the video and listen to your content. And so love audiobooks. And we haven't done this, but I've always wanted to. You can make parts of your audiobook into videos. Like, you can take the audio file of that inspiring first chapter or a portion of that first chapter and use it as the voiceover of some B-roll of what's happening, and we actually have some of that coming up with a new book that we're going to be launching in Think Media at the beginning of 2022. But you can use parts of your audiobook and turn them into video content, just like creating leverage above, where you have all this material you could use in multiple different ways that also links back to your book. Number 8, you get a physical artifact in people's homes and hands. What do I mean? In a digital world, when you write a physical book that people can purchase, or they buy at a book table at an event, or you just hand out for free, a lot of people say that books are the best business card. Why? Because people throw business cards away and they lose them. But when you hand them a book, they're like, man, this is kind of meaningful. I need to at least take this back to my hotel room before I throw it away. You know what I mean? Like they literally will probably take their book with them, or they'll hand it to somebody else. Somebody will be like, what's that? And then they'll be like, oh, you interested in this? Sure. They're like, yeah, someone just gave it to me. Like, it can be passed around, transferred around. Books are the best business card. Referrals can happen from them because somebody could finish reading it, hand it to somebody else. But it actually gets a physical artifact in people's hands and homes. Let's talk about branding. Let's talk about impact. Let's talk about, in a digital world, your artifact with your name on the cover. Your book in someone's house, on their coffee table, on their bookshelf, in their book bag, at Starbucks, open up. The cover of your book being seen in physical places that hundreds of years from now, they dig up the archaeological ruins and they say, wow, here's your book. It's an artifact. You know what I mean? Powerful, a physical artifact that can really impact people on and on and on. Number 9, it lets you utilize the world's largest search engine. Now, maybe you've never thought about this one. We talk about how YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. And so what I mean by number 9, the world's largest product search engine, and what is it? Amazon.com. So of course people are looking for information on Google and YouTube, but the largest search engine for products and for buyers is Amazon.com. Google and YouTube are browsers. If you're on Amazon.com, you're a buyer. And so when you have a book, think about it, you can rank, you can be on the largest shopping search engine, Amazon.com. Amazon.com has over 126 million members just in its Prime loyalty program. So by getting a book, you have a whole new place of discovery. Sean, why would you write a book? A lot of the information in the book might be on your YouTube channel. That's true. But there's a whole other segment of people who don't know you yet, could still discover you, want to consume the information in an organized and clear way, want to experience it in a much more well-presented way. But even just the people you're meeting for the first time, we've met thousands of people who never knew us before from just having our book on Amazon.com. And stick around because I actually have two bonus tips after number 10 for you as well. We'll do some of the other things on the podcast, and Heather will be back on. And so I just had so much. I want you to hear those. So definitely listen to the end. But let's hit number 10. And number 10, writing a book will help you scale your business. Now, you could imagine this does this in a lot of maybe intangible ways, like your perceived authority and all these types of things. But one of the things we did when we wrote our book was we created a bonus package, like a bonus bundle of a little clarity worksheet and a free video training that people could send in their receipt from Amazon and then their name and email, and then we would hook them up with that free stuff. Well, just from that alone, we had almost 4,000 people claim the book bonuses, which means basically 4,000 contacts, 4,000 in business leads that are that much more interested in going deeper with you. Additionally, we had a link to one of our free classes towards the end of the book. And beyond that, there's no question that this book has generated over $1 million, like that we could verifiably track. And arguably probably 2-3 times more than that intangibly from the brand lift, brand awareness. And it helps you bring in new business, even from the thing we do business with people we know, like, and trust. And so by writing a book, it accelerated all of those things and had a huge impact on not only just my business, our YouTube channels across our various brands. Because someone comes on the YouTube channel, hey, should I listen to this person? Should I stick around and listen to this? And when you have that introduction, hey, I'm the author of. Remember, a lot of times on YouTube, you're not just talking to people who already know you. You're talking to people who are just meeting you for the first time. So you're asking, how can I accelerate trust? And so can you accelerate trust in a sentence? Well, possibly. For some that are viewing, they hear, oh, you're the #1 best-selling author, or you're, the author of authoritative title of your book that reinforces the topic with which you teach. That's going to actually just help accelerate trust. Of course, you got to back it up. Of course, you got to follow up with great content. But that's a huge key to scaling your business. And I'm excited in just a moment to share the final 2 bonus reasons with you.
Well, those are the first 10 lessons that Sean learned when writing the book YouTube Secrets. And if you think you're ready to write your book, what are you waiting for? Go to startyourbook.live, where you're going to learn how to go from blank page to published author in 90 days with Sean Cannell and Chandler Bolt from Self Publishing School. In this free class, you're going to learn how to find your book idea and the 3-step system to write, publish, and launch your book. You can sign up today at startyourbook.live. Now, if you're loving this type of content, make sure you share it with a friend, and make sure that you like and subscribe wherever you're consuming this content from. When you are over on Apple, make sure you leave a review and we'll share it here on the podcast. And today's review comes from Coca-Cola 94. Great value. This podcast consistently provides amazing value. One nugget of wisdom I learned in the last episode was to do for one what you wish you could do for all. Oh, that was such a great tip. Even though you can't always make a personal connection with every one of your viewers, each connection you have time to make is a valuable one. Well, thank you so much, Coca-Cola 94, for leaving that review. And if you've not left a review yet, please let us know what your takeaway was from today's episode. Now, Sean promised you 2 more tips, so let's get back into the content.
All right, welcome to the bonus 2 reasons. I don't think we've ever done this before on the Think Marketing podcast, but I just had to include these because I'm super passionate about writing a book. And I realize this might not be for everybody, but I want to encourage you, I think you should really write a book. Like, you should really consider, and it might not be immediately, it might not even be in the next 6 months or 12 months, but even just put it on your to-do list. Put it on, yes, I want to organize my calendar, my schedule, and at the right time, I want to write the right book because it'll trigger the right results in my brand, my business, my YouTube channel, and my online authority overall. So number 11, out of the total 12 reasons that will land the plane on here, is it'll help you build your brand. Well, I've kind of already said that. So what do you mean by that, Sean? Well, this is a Think Marketing podcast. We talk a lot about marketing. We talk about sales, like generating more revenue. But there's a difference between marketing and branding, right? Like, a lot of times when I think about marketing and sales, I question, what are the sales today, Sean? Like, what are the measurable sales? Like, I can't pay my mortgage with my brand. I can't buy a Starbucks coffee with my brand. Like, I need the money. I need the actual tangible money. Well, that's sales and marketing. That's the over 200,000 or nearly $250,000 the book directly has generated, right? When I think about branding, though, branding is that more intangible brand lift that happens from writing a book. A brand is what people think about when they think about you. A brand is how people feel. Branding is an experience. And so one of the things, I think the powerful things about a book is people seeing YouTube Secrets, seeing the red cover, seeing the whole brand lift it's kind of like number one, like your authority, but like the overall brand, it's lifted the perception of video influencers, my channel with Benji. It's lifted the perception of Think Media. It's lifted the perception of Sean Cannell. The brand has been strengthened of Sean Cannell. And this is sometimes less trackable, but it's more important for longevity. I think it's important to write a book and consider writing a book. And what I've seen from writing a best-selling book is that I am seeing a compound value in my brand. And one of the best ways to brand yourself in a market and stand out more is by having a book that plants you with authority around your topic. And then finally, number 12 is legacy. If you haven't seen episode 1, definitely check it out, where we talk with Chandler Bolt, who's going to be on that free training we're doing soon, or I think you can check out the replay at the link in the show notes, or I believe startyourbook.live. But Chandler talked about some people want to write a book. Maybe you don't have business ambitions, or even if you have business ambitions with your book, either way, writing a book is legacy. A book can outlive you. A book is meaningful to your family. You become a published author. Like, you have an artifact that can be passed down from generation to generation. Who even knows if your family will read it, but just having that book is that piece of history. It's that piece of legacy, taking the time to write down your thoughts. And the cool thing is, again, you might even be like, I don't even know if it's a business thing. It might be more of a memoir, or maybe even or fiction, or these different types of things. I could see the power of writing a nonfiction book, a fiction book, a memoir, no matter what. Legacy. Something that can be passed around. Maybe you don't want to reach 100,000 units with your book. Maybe you just want to reach 100 people of your cousins and friends and family and your children's children. Like, legacy. So I encourage you, 12 reasons, consider writing a book. And there's a couple ways to go about it, right? You could go at it on your own. We have that free class. Chandler's got more training. We'll talk about other ways to do it. And there's lots of different ways to do it, but commit to the process and commit to quality. Don't just put out, an ebook that's 22 pages, a cover from Microsoft Paint, and is just kind of, a half effort. But really think about putting out something substantial. Yes, it's going to take more energy, but we've been benefiting now for over 3 years, disproportionate value. Writing this book, YouTube Secrets with Benji, one of the hardest things I've ever done, but actually, absolutely, probably one of the best things I've ever done. Do I regret it? Are you kidding? Was there times I wanted to quit? Absolutely. But on the other side of it, and it hasn't stopped, there's momentum still on the book. Will that happen to everybody? Not necessarily. But whether you sell 100 copies a month years later, or even 1 copy a month, you still have leverage, my friend. Consider writing a book. Remember, it's not easy, but it's going to be worth it.
16E has a durable design and ceramic shield because the average person drops their phone 208 times a year. Make that 209 once they see the price. iPhone 16E, latest iPhone, greatest price.
In the first year, I was getting to a point where I was hitting like 10 grand a month. That first year was really tough because, again, I didn't know what was going on. And I almost had like a mental breakdown 4 months in trying to produce a video every week.
Today, we're going to be learning how a medical professional turned boring eye content into viral videos.
Finally, one of my videos did hit, got suggested, again, a little bit by luck, but I caught a topic.
What would you tell creators if they were feeling like maybe it's too late to start YouTube? And if you were to start from scratch today, what would be some of your first tips? Today, we're going to be learning how a medical professional turned boring eye content into viral videos, including his thumbnail strategy that took his shorts and his videos up to 7 million views on one video. He's also going to be breaking down the exact method he uses to structure videos to keep them watching. One of his videos hit 1.5 million views doing this, and the content shift that helped him jump from a struggling creator to over 139 million total video views. But right at the start, we're going to cover the 3 biggest mistakes he sees people making on YouTube when they're just starting out growing their channels. But if you're new to the Think Media Podcast, thanks for being here. And today I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Joseph Allen, the visionary behind Dr. Eye Health. He has over 139 million views, and since launching his channel back in 2018, he's built an impressive community of over 1 million subscribers by breaking down eye health topics in an accessible way that resonates with his audience. Dr. Eye Health, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Sean. This is amazing. Longtime fan of everything Think's doing. So, again, an honor.
Well, I'm fired up to dive into a little bit of your story, some advanced tactics as the conversation progresses. But let's start off really quick. What are the 3 biggest mistakes that you see creators making? We brainstormed these ahead of time. The first one is random content. Break that down.
Yeah, so I see, even for myself, when I first started off, I wasn't sure what I was talking about. I wasn't sure really what to make, but over time, really boiling down to what your audience wants, like how can you best show up for them, and being very direct about what the problem is and how you're going to help them. I think having clarity on what you're going to be really focusing on can really put your content above everybody else's, because you're really getting to the sharp pain point of what the keyword is, the key phrases, and what the audience is looking for that content. And even if it's not a hot topic, if you are direct about it, it will find an audience.
So good. Number 2 is not getting to the point fast enough. What do you mean here?
So at the beginning of the videos, if you spend too long not getting to the point, or really getting the information, or allowing the viewer to know they're in the right place, that the information that they clicked on, that they are going to get that information, then you see audience retention drop off way too fast. So you have to kind of figure out how to present yourself quickly and get kind of reaffirmed to the audience that the video is what it's going to be about. Right? You don't want to be just clickbaity enough so that people will be interested in it, but not too clickbaity that you're going to be taking them on a wild ride.
I love that. And the 3rd biggest mistake you see creators making is on their thumbnails. What are some of the mistakes there?
Biggest thing is too crowded, right? They got way too many words on the thumbnail. Perhaps they don't have enough emotion or enough color. I think sometimes simple is better than too complex. And so I've really started to lean into that myself and really analyzing, okay, how do I better get this thumbnail to pop out and make it very simple? How do I draw eyes this direction because once I get their eyes on the thumbnail, they're going to be able to see the title, and if the title's in alignment with that thumbnail and it's enough curiosity, they'll click through it. I'll see the click-through rates improve.
And those are some really powerful tactical tips to get us some quick wins on the next video upload that we do. But now I kind of want to dive into a broader view of your process. Now, if people are new to your channel, I actually am certain some of the listeners have stumbled on your channel before, because almost everybody in the world has eyes. A lot of people wear glasses, they're dealing with dark circles or contact lenses. And so over the years, you're all over the internet and YouTube. You got a lot of videos over 1 million views. And there's topics like doctor explains how to get rid of under eye bags, or contact lenses for beginners, or how to clean eyeglasses. What's your process for turning medical concepts into engaging titles that average people want to click on?
Really good question. We have kind of a few different strategies, right? We have one which is purely SEO based strategies. So we use the algorithms to try to understand what are people really looking for, what's the search telling us, because that's usually evergreen content, right? That's content that's going to last forever. We know everybody's asking those questions. So if we at least show up there once a month with an SEO driven video, we know that's going to have longevity. The other is kind of a topical, we know that if there's some topics that are getting hot in the industry, like recently there were some publications showing that this medication, a very popular medication that people are taking, has a risk for permanent vision loss or blindness. Like, that's a good topic people want to know. And if we are an authority talking about that topic, there's a good chance that other news outlets may end up making a video on that, or they may make a post about that. Well, guess whose video is going to be recommended next after that after that other big news outlet? That's another kind of strategy we'll use. But I think definitely when making a video, finding something that's going to resonate with your audience, knowing what people are searching and knowing the top kind of popular topics, being able to kind of focus in on those and make sure you're hitting at least one of those top topics a month throughout the year, because then you're always staying relevant to the audience.
Man, that's a really genius way to break it down, that we're tapping into both the evergreen search engine optimized type of videos, but if we're paying attention to our niche and our topic and trying to once a month spot something, we call it trend surfing, and ride that trend, and it's a system, because in that case too, maybe it doesn't blow up. Do you have a story from that where maybe you try to catch a trend and you're like, I did all right, but it didn't pop off? But then there's maybe an example where you're like, whoa, we caught the right video at the right time and it really got a lot of views. Did you have a real breakout video doing that trend surfing?
I have. There's a few times this has worked both directions. For example, this last year, I did a video on castor oil, on its effects on castor oil, because there's a lot of things in the world of social media where people will kind of, they'll talk about benefits of something without having true scientific backup for it. I think people know that there's just, especially in the diet world, for example, there's a lot of people just make claims. But I said, okay, well, people are asking about castor oil. They're making these claims that it helps with the eyes in these ways. Well, let me dig into the research on it. And I've seen other videos by other eye professionals talk about it, but their videos did very poor. I'm like, only 6,000 views on this really good video. So how can I spin it to really grab more attention? How can I teach this in a better way? And so I gave it a shot. I honestly thought it was going to flop. I thought we're going to get maybe 10,000 views tops. And it caught that wave along with all these other content creators making content about castor oil. And I got millions of views off that video. So it works. And sometimes it doesn't. It works okay. It would, even if it only got 10,000, I would have been happy with it. I'd be like, it's still good information. It's still going to help people. But, thankfully it paid off.
It's a great mindset, because if it would have only got 10,000, a nice mindset to be like, yeah, help some people, got the video out there. But I'm looking at it at the moment of recording. It's got 2.6 million views. It's getting 76 views per hour as we talk. So this, hour-long conversation, 76 new people still watching the video. And the title ended up being Castor Oil for Your Eyes, Dry Eyes, Eye Bags, Eye floaters, and cataracts. So such a cool example of just being committed to the trend surfing strategy, knowing what's happening. And then even it could be TikTok trends, I imagine, like when something, because I saw castor oil, my friend Shalene Johnson, people using it for face, anti-aging, ingesting it, all this different things. You catch the right thing at the right time and think about, how do I tie my niche into that? That's really powerful. How do you structure your videos once you get people to click on it from a good thumbnail and title to try to maintain high viewer retention? And especially too, since you're communicating what could be complex medical topics, if professionals are listening to this, you know, there's this balance between, if it's going to be accessible to the masses, it might need to be understandable, but yet you're also trying to convey information. If I was to read a medical paper, I might fall asleep, but you've done such a great job of building a brand and educating people well. What are some of your tips there for how you do your videos and maybe structure things so they're accessible but still really deeply informational?
So this has been, I think, work in progress for, the 6, almost 7 years I've been doing this. I think there is a place for making very just cut and dry informative videos, especially around a medical condition. However, they're not probably going to get many views. One of the first videos I found success in, like, consistent audience retention was, in fact, my how to clean your glasses video. And I sort of just shot it on a whim one day. I didn't really put much thought into it. I honestly think I just got lucky in how I produced it. But I recognized in the statistics afterward, like, this video is doing well. What is different? And I noticed the audience retention stayed stable at like 60% viewership for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes into the video. And I think anybody who makes videos on a regular basis, they usually see that fast drop off in the first 30 seconds, right? So over time, I've learned to improve storytelling, and with more complex topics, like how to clean your eyeglasses is like a tips video. Works very well when you have multiple points. You're like, hey, here's 6 tips. Here, let me show you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when you're trying to explain a more complex medical condition, I try to use the but and therefore. Have you ever heard anyone give that explanation?
Break it down.
So you may have a point of, like, for example, in the eye care world, astigmatism. A lot of people have astigmatism. There's maybe listeners and viewers who are hearing that term. They're like, oh yeah, my doctor said that before, but maybe they don't really know what it is. So in a video that I've already shot, it'll come out here in some time, but that video will break down how astigmatism affects your vision. And I'll raise that up as a question, but I'll say, but first, we should probably define astigmatism. And so then I'll be able to kind of pause, like the viewer thinks they're going in one direction, but I'll say, but let's talk about this first. So I'll change direction. That's still on the same topic. It's not in far left field, but it helps explain the story better. And so I'll try to use a couple of buts and change around the topic and answer other common questions around that topic, just to keep viewers interested and invested in hearing the full story. It takes some time, but you can get better at it as you continue to write and put in the skills.
And then what's there for?
So that's still part of it. So you say, but this happened. Like, it's part of the storyline, right? You're explaining the medical story, but there's something, it doesn't work out the exact way you thought it was. And therefore, this happens. And so you start to explain what happens there, and then you add another but, and then you continue to kind of make this dance around the main point. And ultimately, you still answer all of the questions in the point of the video, but it keeps the viewer more invested in what you're explaining.
I think this is so powerful, and I think it's a skill that can take time to develop. So if you're listening to this, it might feel overwhelming. You think of Dr. Allen doing this for 7 years, still at it, sharpening his skills all the time. It's a good reason to subscribe to the podcast. And even just repetition of this kind of information and learning is so important, because these are high level skills. But I feel like I want to call this like the Pulp Fiction strategy, because Quentin Tarantino is famous, as many other directors are, for cutting to the chase with a scene in one of his films and then jumping back way in the past to give you some past context, and then jumping into the future, and then jumping into the middle. And you actually will oftentimes see this a lot. Some great shows, if you're listening to this right now, maybe you think of a show that will bring you into a present conflict. And then after a bit, we'll go back to the past to lay foundation. And maybe it's even walking through that individual's childhood, which is now making all these correlations to what's happening now. Or they're jumping between characters that are all moving around this narrative arc. The punchline is it's not linear as we would just think. Like a lot of shows or movies, they don't just start with like, and day one, the protagonist was born, and then 10 years of a really boring life. But even the big idea of cut to the chase would be the idea of like, how does every James Bond movie start? It starts with a gunfight. He's like riding on a jet ski. There's helicopters. It actually is 0 to 100 real quick, like Drake. There's massive conflict. And then it's like 6 days earlier. And so it kind of goes back. So that's kind of what I envisioned when you were saying that. It's sort of like you're grabbing people in, you're bringing them here. But that storytelling now is jumping back. And it's funny to relate, you know, a Quentin Tarantino movie or James Bond to education about eye health or YouTube. But these storytelling principles are transferable. And hopefully listeners, maybe they'll never watch a movie the same. Looking at the storytelling arc from every film you watch and how could you maybe include that in your videos, that's a really high level of thinking. When did you start doing that?
Only until maybe the last year or two. And I think I sort of stumbled onto it by accident. Like I just started watching some other creators and thought, you know, that's an interesting way to shoot their video, an interesting way to edit it. How would I incorporate that in explaining this more medical-based topic? And there's times it's worked. There's times where I've applied it more heavily just because it's easier with some topics. But for example, if someone goes back and watches my castor oil video, you'll notice I kind of tee up that there are concerns or risks if someone puts 100% castor oil on their eye. But first, let me explain that this study where I was really surprised that there's benefits to castor oil. And so it kind of shifts a little bit. You'll see it a little bit in that video.
And that was an open loop because there's some risks. I'm like, okay, I need to know the risk. You're like, but first, let's go back and give you some context. I'm like, okay, well, now I need the context, but you've still created a great open loop that I need to close to understand what those risks are that are coming later in the video.
Absolutely. And so I think it's a higher, for anybody who's maybe just starting out, it is a higher level of video writing, and it's something I'm still working on. But as I get more excited writing the videos myself when I start writing it in a storytelling way rather than just cut and dry.
I want to talk about YouTube Shorts, and not every creator embraces shorts. Shorts are probably one of the most polarizing and controversial topics on YouTube because some creators are saying shorts will destroy your channel, divide your audience, hurt your regular views on your main videos. When I look at your top shorts, you've got a short that has 7.7 million views. Now, your most viewed regular video has 4.8 million views. Congratulations on both fronts, crushing it. But I'm curious, when did you decide to embrace shorts, and what have you learned? Has it been a positive, neutral? Is there pros and cons that you've personally felt, and are you committed to still posting shorts?
So when we started doing shorts, I think I came to it late. I started just testing it out a little bit here and there. Wasn't really sure how to do it because I've never really gravitated toward TikTok or Instagram Reels too hard. But I thought, you know what, this is something, it's part of YouTube. YouTube's investing in it. I should at least try it, see how it affects things. And we had a little bit of success doing some reactions, but I started just kind of saying, hey, let's pick topics, especially even SEO things that, I can't make a full video on this, but I can at least make kind of a short and zoom in on that. And it's not going to hurt anything for me to try it. And what I've found, it actually has done nothing but help the channel because it's a lot of times these short videos go to people who are more interested in watching short content than just long form content. And it gets in front of people who've never seen my content before. So it ends up at least drawing them to the channel. And at some point, if they watch one or two shorts, the algorithm may learn, hey, this person might also like a long form from me, and they get shown one of my top 10 videos. They get more introduced to my world of eye care. And that's kind of the mission. I want people to learn about the eyes and take care of them better. And so the more people I can raise awareness to, then that accomplishes my mission. So what we're doing now, We are going to be investing more heavily in short form content for all platforms, right? I'm not just dedicating just to YouTube, but I make it with the mindset that YouTube is still my priority number one platform. So we're going to be doing more, but we're planning our short content largely around our long form. And so when I plan out a long form video, like again, we have astigmatism, I'm remaking some of my older top 10 videos that I started with. And that astigmatism video, wow, there's actually like 4 or 5 shorts I can make all around astigmatism. And I can post those a week before the main video. I can post those during the week of the main video. I can post those afterward, and they all will feed back to that main video. And so we're going to continue kind of coming up with these strategies down the road and leaving room as a trend may come up, on any platform, and we'll be able to comment on that or find places to fill that in with our content schedule.
Perfect. Now work. You're perfect. All around the you're perfect. Now work. All around the world.
Lean cuisine, always a good source of protein and under 400 calories. Flavorful, not calorie-full.
Mega roll lasts longer, so you can tackle
Applesauce and avocado, berries, butter, coffee cream, crispy fingers, deviled eggs, and dip bananas, red and green.
Bounty Mega Roll lets you clean spills without running out.
And mommy's left us 7 down.
Bounty, quicker picker up. Hurry into your local Acura dealer for the Spring It to Performance event going on now. Vets have their spot on the couch. Companions have their spot on the boat. Origin, whole prey nourishment for your companions.
Interesting for an established creator like you. I think I heard you say we're going to remake our top 10 videos. Break that down for maybe somebody listening. Even if they're just starting, it might be a way to think about, what if I run out of topics? Well, there's maybe the ability to repeat yourself eventually, especially if it's months or even years later over your now 7 years of building a channel. But explain your thinking behind looking at your top 10 and then redoing it. What is the mindset there, the strategy there?
So we know that just looking at our statistics, okay, there's certain topics, like the topic is interesting. There's a lot of people asking about these hot topics in the eye care world. Of course, there's things like eye bags, there's dark circles, there's floaters, there's contact lenses. There's a lot of these key common questions people are asking. In some of these videos I made back in 2018, 2019, I used older cameras. The information I'll be putting out may be very similar or the same, because not much has changed about like astigmatism. That hasn't changed, like what we know about it. But I have changed. The way I shoot, the style of the way I communicate has changed. But in addition to this, I have grown almost 1 million subscribers since then. A lot of those subscribers may have never seen that original video from 5-6 years ago on astigmatism. So if anything, I'm doing them a disservice. I should be talking about this important topic this next year and just getting that out to new people. And maybe people who've already seen the old video, maybe they'd be interested in learning more about it from a different perspective. So I think it's an easy bet for me to say, hey, this is a good content that is going to be consistent and I can do a better job. And it's a way to show up for my viewers and future viewers.
I think this is one of the most underrated strategies that creators miss because they're afraid of repeating themselves, or they feel like I've already said that. And that impression might come if they do repeat themselves. One person in the comments are like, haven't you already talked about that? Or haven't you already posted a video about that? And then you've posted a video about that. So in your mind, you're like, well, I've already talked about that. even if you reflect back, you're like, well, I've already covered astigmatism, not realizing all of the strategic and logical reasons you mentioned. Well, there's a bunch of new people that still need to learn about it. You have new style and new gear. It's a new year. There's probably 10, 20% of, maybe it's not even new information. Maybe it's a little bit of new information because maybe a few new medical papers or something, but also just your ability to communicate it. What I want listeners to really take away is that I think a lot of people are missing out on the opportunity of repeating themselves more on the proven topics. They're constantly searching for something new. I heard one person put it this way: we shouldn't be constantly trying to say new things, because if we are, then we at some point are making stuff up. Because in any niche, there's probably like 10 core topics, 30 adjacent, and like max 100 if you're really, and then of course you get into, but there's not that many things you'd ultimately be saying when you're covering those core topics. Of course, different niches are different. The quote is, you shouldn't be constantly trying to say new things to new people. You should be trying to say the same things to new people. This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. StreamYard is our go-to platform here at Think Media for live streaming to Facebook and YouTube, and for recording our video podcast. It has an incredibly easy to use interface for built-in branding, transitions, text lower thirds, and seamlessly bringing on guests. And they just added an awesome new feature called local recording. This allows you to take the quality to another level by separating out your audio and video from your guests, giving you more control over your content for later use. This feature is perfect for video and podcast creators, and so to get a special deal on StreamYard right now and to see all the features that are included, just go to streamwiththink.com. That is streamwiththink.com. There's millions of people who still have not discovered you, even though you have 1 million subscribers. If any channel has 100,000 subscribers or 10,000, their videos aren't getting 10,000 views usually. So what, 1% of your audience, 5% of your audience is seeing it, and the myth is you believe you post a video and everyone sees it, and then you believe they watched the whole thing. So you believe they've even got all the information. And then you realize too, you have an entirely new strategy of viewer retention. So if you posted that before, and sure, it did well, and it did incredibly well, but also if the average viewer duration was 2 minutes, there's a lot of information they need on a 10-minute video. I'm just giving a lot of rationale for the listener to do exactly what you're saying, that like remake your winners, repackage your best topics. Don't be afraid to repeat yourself, and don't worry about the 1 or 2 or 3%, because thank God for the 3% of people that go, you already talked about this. You should say like, thank you for being such a super fan. Because that's not the majority. That's one person who's like, they watch every single thing you do. It's like, all right, I appreciate you, acknowledging that. The 99% still need to be reached, even of your own subscribers usually. And so I really got excited about that strategy. Let's go a little bit broader and take it back now to your journey and what we can learn from that. You just said, one of the things we are working on, which speaks to the aspect that your channel has grown, 1 million subscribers, building a team, delegating things. But of course, that's not where you started. So if we were to walk through the seasons, take us back to you getting started, day one. What's your lifestyle, working in a clinic, thinking about starting a YouTube channel and trying to figure this thing out when there is no we, and there's maybe not an extra budget, and there's not fancy cameras, but just what it really takes to get going as a busy professional back when you started?
So when I had this idea to start a YouTube channel, and I won't get too into the romance of it, but I had this idea and I said, okay, it's New Year's, 2017's ending, beginning of 2018. I'm going to start a YouTube channel about eye care. Nothing really exists on this topic, and I don't really have anybody to guide me. I didn't really have mentorship, so I got to figure this out. I had no idea about cameras, no idea about lighting, video editing, nothing. So I go on YouTube and start typing in, how do I start this? Actually, that's how I found you, Sean, and found Think Media. So you helped me figure out what camera to get, what lenses to start with, how to set up the lighting. I basically studied everything Think Media posted for about 3 months, trying to just even learn the basics. because again, this is a new world for me. So it took about 3 months of me I was sitting on the bike in the gym, taking notes, watching videos on what I needed to buy, kind of strategizing, okay, how do I make content? And then I finally purchased all the gear, maybe $2.5 grand worth of investment into different gear, because I wanted a certain level of professionalism. I didn't want to come off like, I'm a doctor. I don't want to look like I'm just shooting off of my cell phone in a garage. So I did invest a little bit for higher quality gear at that time. In retrospect, I wish I would have invested more, because I probably wasted thousands of dollars on crappy lights that only lasted 1 year or something, and I should have just invested in something a little bit higher end. It took about 6 months of me studying content, practicing, learning how to edit, before I had enough courage to post my first video, which came out in July of 2018. The first 3-4 months, again, I was just throwing stuff against the wall, like throwing videos against the wall, hoping it would work out. I remember some tough days. I was, working 6-7 days a week in the clinic and spending my Saturday at the clinic when I could have been outside hanging out with friends. They're going to movies, they're going fishing or boating in back in Minnesota where I was living at the time. And I'm sitting there, I'm in here on a Saturday, sitting in front of a camera, re-recording introductions and saying the same lines and trying to find better ways to explain things and getting frustrated at myself. And because I think if you're not used to producing YouTube videos, if you're not used to making content, it can be a challenge.
We patched up a plan to make Easter even better. Snickers satisfies.
Try Crest 3D White. Finally, a daily whitening toothpaste for whiter teeth in one day.
Surprise, it's me, your oil change light. Here to ruin your day. Remember that last mechanic who sold you stuff you didn't need and took 3 long, boring hours? Did you trust him? Do you trust anyone anymore? What do I know? I'm just...
That won't be happening to you anymore.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, where we give you a stress-free oil change in about 15 minutes.
Thanks for coming in.
And a free 18-point maintenance check. Valvoline, service you can see, experts you can trust.
But I got into this mindset of like, you know what? Even if I'm struggling now, I'm building a skill set. I'm building a skill set of knowing how to produce videos. I'm developing a skill set of how to talk and how to be a better presenter, how I can be a better communicator, which is a really essential skill for, I think, anyone, almost anyone, but certainly somebody in healthcare. I just kept on working. And that first year was really tough because, again, I didn't know what was going on. And I almost had like a mental breakdown 4 months in trying to produce a video every week and learning all these skills at the same time. But one of my good friends encouraged me. He's like, you know what? You're doing great. You're making at least some core videos that you can share with patients. And then finally, one of my videos did hit and got suggested, again, a little bit by luck, but I caught a topic, which was on iFloaters. And I can't say I fully copied a video from Big Media, but again, I didn't know how to talk on camera. So I watched one of your videos, and I remember writing out almost word for word script of one of your videos. And instead of camera lenses, I crossed it out and would put contact lenses. And I would slowly kind of teach myself, oh, okay, I see how he's teaching this. And so I used that as kind of a framework to learn how to write videos. But that first year was really tough. And then finally, after having some success, I said, hey, I'm going to invest in this guy's course, your VRA course. And I took that. And I think when I finally had that course, it started to click, but I went through the course like 6-7 times. I would listen to it on my commute to work. And so I think the fundamentals of what was taught in that course, I was able to really apply, and that at least was proof of concept, and I started having success, and that was the first year. In fact, the first 2 years was a constant like skill building year. Solopreneur. I didn't get an assistant until 2021, so 3 years in, and I was honestly I think any solopreneur knows that. They get ragged. You're like working 80 hours a week trying to, you whether it be full-time with your normal job plus trying to build a YouTube channel. And then finally got to that point where I'm like, I can't do this on my own. I need someone to answer emails because there's 20 emails I'm not getting to every day. I need help figuring out content production. I need something. So I started, thankfully, I was able to hire an assistant to handle things, small things, and now we have 2 assistants, and now we're looking to build our team more. It's a lot of twists and turns.
Man, it's inspiring to hear your story, and humbling to hear how Think Media and our program Video Ranking Academy has been a part of your journey, but also just your hustle. I think there's a big lesson there too. Like, we have a lot of VRA students that listen to the podcast, and I just am so pumped that you said I went through it 6 to 7 times. I want to challenge somebody that has invested in VRA. They haven't been through it one time, and don't complain about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. Like, there's something about it works if you work it, and I want to encourage you right after this podcast, dive back into your members area. And I love how you spoke to the emotions, though, even the mental breakdown. I think people can relate to that, especially when you add in kids or full-time job, doing this on the side, pressures, trying to get this off the ground. And that's the hardest season, because eventually once you start getting margin and a little bit of money and, you know, whatever else, but the liftoff strength, it's kind of like a rocket ship. Elon Musk, SpaceX, they say that the rocket fuel, how much percentage, 50, 60, 70% is burnt just to get the thing moving. And then it's a lot less once there's momentum. At the beginning, it's the emotional energy, it's the physical energy, it's the financial energy. You invest a couple $1,000s, you don't make that back right away. It's a lot invested right up front, and then liftoff was not overnight. And so such a clear picture of the even years this can take. So I'm curious, when did like the finances click in a little bit? Did you lessen your time at the clinic? Are you still keeping that as like a pillar full time because of passion? And what was kind of the transition between your full-time work and what you would call going quote unquote full-time on YouTube, which is defined differently by different people?
Yeah. So when I went into this niche, especially in eye care and YouTube, like, it never really existed before. So again, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have any idea of how much potential it could make financially. So I think the first moment I had when I was like, wow, like financially, even just as a YouTube channel, I didn't have a course. I didn't have any products to sell. It was just AdSense and basically like some affiliates. And within the first year, I was getting to a point where I was hitting like 10 grand a month of extra income, right? And I think for a lot of people, that's not small change.
Was that your first year or second year? You mentioned, like, I mean, if I count 6 months of kind of prep, 3 months of throwing videos against the wall, eventually get VRA. I'm just curious, was there kind of like almost like the prequel and then it starts because you're getting ready, or just so we have like a realistic timeline?
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. I guess in my head, I meant 1 year after I got monetized.
Okay.
So the first year, of course, I spent 6 months not posting anything. By the end of that first year, I did get monetized, and I probably made, at most, at least got my money back for my equipment at the end of the first year. That doesn't include all the time investment, right? But for at least physical equipment, maybe $2,500 by the end of the first year. Because when you first get monetized, unless you have a huge video, you don't get that much off of AdSense. And I was just dabbling in affiliate. I didn't really know how. I had just gotten onto like an Amazon partner at the time. So as the channel continued to build up, probably I will say a year and a half into the process from my first video posting, I got an AdSense check of like $9,000, and I was like, wow. I had no idea it had that potential, and that's off of AdSense, which is, I think, unreliable at best. I hate to say, but I think that was a big moment in my head. I'm like, whoa, this has a different type of business model that could work very well in fueling the mission, rather than me just working 6 days a week in the clinic, which is not uncommon for a lot of doctors.
So did you stop? Do you still do some? What was that pivot point? And how do you define full-time? If you're ready to get serious about starting and growing a successful YouTube channel, then you're going to love vrapodcast.com. For a limited time, we have a special sale happening on our YouTube course and coaching membership that includes the online course, the 80-page workbook, and access to the private community. Inside of this program, you have everything you need for starting a successful YouTube channel all in one place. You get access to checklists and resources that will save you time, reduce stress, and help you reach your YouTube goals faster. But also, the most powerful part is the community. It's not just other creators and entrepreneurs that are ambitious and reaching for their goals, but it's also the Think Media faculty that's in your corner, answering your questions and helping you stay motivated on your journey to YouTube success. And for a limited time, we are running a big sale at vrapodcast.com. So if you want to check it out, just click the link in the show notes or go to vrapodcast.com. All right, let's get back into the episode.
Yeah, so in 2021, I eventually started winding down. The YouTube channel had gotten to about 200,000 subscribers or so. The clinic I was working at actually ended up selling to a private equity company, because originally I was going to become partner, but lost that opportunity. And I was like, you know what? This might be a blessing in disguise. I have this upper opportunity that I've been working on. It's growing. It's having this success. This is a time for me to pivot and put a little bit more weight into the YouTube channel. And I wanted to see more success there. So I dropped down to 2 days a week in the clinic, more time on YouTube. And I stayed at 2 days a week from 2021 until 2024. The beginning of 2024, I switched to 1 day a week in the clinic. Now I still see patients. I love seeing patients. It also keeps me relevant in the core profession, and other professionals in my space take me more seriously, the fact that I still see patients every week. And then so I've really shifted to more, in my mind, I'm more full-time YouTube. It's like a 7 day a week job. You know, if you're a business owner, you think about it almost every day. But it's the primary focus of what I want to do and what I want to continue pushing and building.
I really love your story, and I love this ethic. You know, to each their own, listening to this, how their career might evolve. But it's a personal, I mean, maybe call it a pet peeve of mine, that there's so many legendary teachers you could learn from. Maybe you meet one at college or university, but also universities, in my opinion, are unfortunately, there's too many like business professors that have never run a successful business, or they ran a successful business 30 years ago. And I just think it's something so powerful about staying in the trenches. You know, one of our Ethic Media, we recently had Nathan and Craig on our podcast. And like, whether it's doing church video production, whether it's shooting weddings on the weekend, whether it's, you know, using the cameras in the real world, and of course, creating content is the real world as well. But we call it player coaches. This idea of like, we always want to be on the field. And if we're going to be teachers, great, but let's keep it. And it might shift to 1 day a week, but it's also, I want to share this because I think it gives you an edge. It gives you an unfair advantage when this idea of content creation can become so meta, where all you're really doing is like, you're not in it as much. And the closer you are to the pain points, the feelings, the issues, FaceTime, you know, in the church world, there was a quote that I was a campus pastor once, and like a old school pastor that had like the wisdom and the time under his belt. He told Miguel Ogos, who I was working with, he said, "I can tell you're a real pastor because you smell like the sheep."
Lean cuisine? You could lose up to 18 pounds in 12 weeks. Flavorful, not calorie-full.
Okay. Stop forcing ads for your forklifts on financiers. Start marketing to the right people by targeting industries and functions on LinkedIn ads.
He told Miguel Ogos, who I was working with, he said, "I can tell you're a real pastor because you smell like the sheep." Kind of a funny quote, but it was like, because you're not just in the green room, you're not just locked away, you're not just, they call it management by walking around, Michael Scott, The Office, but it's like actually being out there, like, using the stuff, like putting the wear and tear on it, whether that's the gear, whether that's whatever you do. Not to overemphasize that point, but I just love seeing that progression and the wisdom of staying in it when certainly you have so much opportunity before you and so many things you could do that could just completely take up all of your time. I really like that. Now, if we go back to, well, actually just paint today, who's on the team? Do people edit the videos, thumbnail designers, assistant? What does an assistant do?
The team has evolved a little bit. I still have the original assistant. She now takes on a little bit larger role. We're trying to still figure out what do we call her, because she does more than just my assistant. She's almost like a co-producer in a way. She helps figure out the content, what plan are, the structure of the content, the planning of kind of time blocking throughout the week. She still schedules what my meetings are. But she also, as an educator, she has a really high level understanding of how do we build systems and how do we better teach our viewers and potential customers, clients, that sort of thing. So we're still working on what her role really is, but she's expanding and doing a lot of things. We do have a part-time assistant, only works about 10 hours a week, but he does more on the sides of research, helping plan and look up SEO numbers, tracking, okay, what are good possible title options. He also does some research of like, hey, if I'm going to be doing a video on this topic, I want him to go dig into PubMed and pull up every single publication in the last 5 years on this topic. That saves me time. My time is worth a little bit heavier because I need to write the videos, I need to produce the videos. So he can at least save me the time so I'm not sitting there scrambling, doing all this research. I still read the publications he finds, but again, digging through the search bar, I don't have to do that. And now as a business, we're in this hot season. The new season we're in is really reformatting the business, building in systems so that we can find someone to build the thumbnails for us. I've had an editor we've been paying. This is a private contractor for years. He does great, but we're looking at maybe finding someone that's more full-time that can invest more time into building better animations or graphics for us rather than us having to do that heavy lifting. And so we're in that season of growth and change, right?
Who does the thumbnails?
I largely still do the thumbnails.
So you're still, okay, so you're hands-on. What do you use software-wise?
I still use Canva. I started using Photoshop. It's a bit complex for me, so I got into Canva, and now I'm at like a black belt level of it.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the thumbnails, you're like there's like multiple layers of different things on top of each other with different shading and kind of creative uses of removing backgrounds, and it's I'm impressed myself sometimes, but it works great.
So you've had a contract editor, a contractor. You've been doing the thumbnails. When it comes down to like getting the title and the video optimized and description and all of that, do you also do that? Do all your own posting?
That has historically been me for the last 6.5, 7 years. And now, again, we're in that season where we're trying to shift and see who can do that and take that off my shoulders, because I need to be investing my time more wisely.
Got it. And then today, what are the revenue streams? You mentioned it's really, $10K a month on ad revenue is really incredible, actually, because some never make it that far, but they can actually build very profitable YouTube businesses and online businesses. But as you fast forward to today, if we were to draw out like a pie chart, even if we don't have numbers, How do things break down in regards to ads or other income streams?
So right now we're equal, about 1/3 split AdSense, another 1/3 split of product sales like affiliates, and then another 1/3 is probably more on the line of sponsorships or some sort of brand deals. But again, we're in this season of change, and we're in the process of building our own digital products. And so the business is going to shift pretty heavy here going into the next year. But I think that will expand our potential income and accelerate massive growth, I expect, because that's going to give us more funds to grow the business, to get us from producing one major video a week to 2 videos a week. We'll hire more people. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be a great asset for us.
And has that been your commitment over the past 6 years, 1 video a week?
I've been basically doing 1 video a week. We also have done live streams like once a month, and we kind of put that in place of 1 video because we've actually found great success with live streams over the last few years. The amount of time, like just watch time, has been incredible. And some people prefer that long form content. We find that a lot of people listen to live streams that are 30, 40 minutes long as if they're listening to a podcast. And we go a little bit deeper on subjects than just what we stay kind of surface level with just like a 8 to 10 minute YouTube video.
I mean, for education channels, that is absolutely true. I know a lot of people on the Think Media podcast here watch replays of our live streams because it is basically a podcast with rich information. Even the Coffee with Cannell show replays cover all kinds of different stuff. And I do the same. I don't know if you do. I'll go to, when I find a channel I like, I will look at not just the videos, but the live streams and maybe find a topic. It's 45 minutes. It's an hour and 15 minutes. Turn it on when I'm driving, doing, chores around the house or something. So you're saying 1 video a week, but maybe if you did 3 and you don't have another one going, you would replace 1 with a live stream. But the simple strategy is 1 video a week for 6 years.
Basically, yeah. And right now, if you were to go to my channel right now, you'd see I haven't posted anything for 3 weeks. What's going on? Well, I am strategically making that business decision of, hey, I need to pull back. I need to retool the business. And funny enough, we actually have seen more growth in the last 3 weeks, not posting anything, because we have put in the work of videos that rank, videos that have great content. And so it has bought us this time off to retool the business and build our product.
Lifesavers gummies. Up the wow.
You found our Everest Motion sofa, power reclining seats, and headrests? They okay?
We just got back from another furniture store, and the sales guy was so pushy, they got super freaked out.
Oh, we don't do that here.
Oh my God.
Chased by a linebacker or paying for a subscription you forgot about?
Ooh, before Experian, paying for the subscriptions was bad. But now that I have it, being chased by linebackers is terrifying. Download the Experian app now.
Like repair, safe like replace.
Nobody likes a cracked windshield. But at least you can go to SafeLight.com and schedule a fix in minutes. Go to SafeLight.com and schedule a replacement today.
Safe like repair, safe like replace.
And build our product, which is ultimately going to leverage us in the future. So
I'm about to jump out of my chair and click my heels like a leprechaun, because if compound interest is the 7th wonder of the world, ranked videos are the 8th. Because when you have a library of ranked videos like you've posted that are as old as 6 years old and still getting views, it not only helps you build the empire you've built, but it buys you freedom. Freedom to take time off, work on the next thing, rest, recover a little bit, and still have your channel growing. And that's really cool to hear. Speak a little bit more to just the mindset, though, of the compound effect and consistency. And a lot of people are looking for like a magic number of like 2 videos a week, 3 videos a week, 1 video a week, and then sometimes maybe like around a certain holiday season, I'm going to do Vlogmas or something, and they want to do 30 videos in a month. The simplicity of your approach, but the consistency, because I think there's something about it multiplied by 6 years. There's something about just, you know, whether you're feeling up or down, whether you're going through challenges or not, like, how have you had that resilience to just make the plan and stick with the plan?
You know, I think early on, again, I learned a lot from you, Sean, but I saw like, hey, if this is something I can just stick with, I'm going to show up all the time. It basically reflects good on my brand, right? If a doctor owns a clinic or if they work at a clinic, do you expect to get paid if you never show up for work? You know, so no business is going to work unless your staff shows up. It's never going to grow. No, you go to that clinic and it's closed. You're like, why is the doors closed? There's no sign. I don't know. So I had this mentality like I need to show up. Even if the video's not going to be a million views video, that's okay. As long as I show up, I deliver consistent, it's quality content. It has grown my brand, not just as like a great resource for education for the consumers, but even in my profession, doctors, both nationally here in the US, but internationally, when I go to conferences in eye care, there's doctors around the globe who know the brand of the YouTube channel, Dr. Eye Health, because it is consistent and it's quality, and they have faith in that. And so it pushes me that I owe it to my viewers and to my profession to show up.
Man, that's super strong. I just was telling our team, because I'm going to be, you know, we're always updating VRA. I was talking about taking some time off, not to take time off, but to focus on the next version coming soon. And we weren't going to slow down the podcast or stop the podcast. One, we're actually going to probably repurpose some episodes, but two, I was talking about might have a guest host. So Think Media Podcast, get ready. It'll be an incredible month or two, and it might only be, we post twice a week. But regardless, what the aha moment to me was, I was like, yo, we're a church. Not that we're a church, but I was like, church is open every Sunday. And whether the pastor's on sabbatical or not, whether it's a guest speaker, whether it's the youth pastor preaching, and it's also like, who's going to get that shot? How do you actually raise up leaders and so there is something interesting about the mindset of showing up consistently. And if you were to go to a church and you're like, oh, this would be awesome to check out, and the doors were locked on Sunday when it should be advertised, then you kind of miss out on that opportunity. I think having that mindset is tough, but I want to encourage listeners, because early on you're like, well, no one's taking me serious yet. I don't have a brand yet. I don't have the money yet. I think that's a losing mindset. You have to be thinking big in small places. Don't let your small YouTube channel make you small-minded. You're acting as if you are a professional organization that is a media company that is showing up and being true to your promises and your word, even though it's so hard because you're in that tough early season. And massive respect to how it's grown your brand, because you've showed up over the years and you've built yourself the momentum to now also have a library of videos. So you're still showing up thousands of times a day on your old content to all kinds of viewers. I am curious specifically, there's some listeners that are professionals, maybe in finance, business, any arena, maybe medical content. I'm curious how you've dealt with mindsets of maybe, what if I damage my reputation through content creation? What if I get sued? What if I get judgment from other professionals? How'd you work through those mindsets, or what lessons did you learn about those that are hesitating to get on camera because of those fears, which might be false evidence appearing real, but nevertheless, that fear feels very real?
When I first started, I was worried that other professionals in the eye care space were not going to approve of my content. They weren't going to approve of the information I was getting out. And I think, I don't know, a lot of it was probably the imposter syndrome, just kind of fears of judgment. Funny enough, as I put out this information, as long as you're giving out good information, good quality content, I have more support from my industry than I ever thought was going to happen. So I think it has paid off, but I think the key to it is you just have to have quality content. But there was a lot of mindset of just, hey, this takes courage. If it was easy, someone else would have done it already. Even for that, if there's somebody else in the niche you want, if somebody's new and they're like, hey, I want to build this, and there's already 100 creators in this niche, that's okay. You are a different person. You speak differently. I always coach to other doctors, even in the eye care space. I'm like, look, someone may want to learn eye care from a female doctor who has like an Indian accent. They might have somebody that connects better with that. So it takes courage, though, without a doubt. But you kind of have to figure out which part of, is this your ego talking to yourself that you're worried about, or is it like, does it truly matter to your mission? And so I think in many ways I learned to kind of mute my ego and focus on who I'm really making content for. And that has always kind of led me in the right direction.
My final question for you is, what would you tell creators if they were feeling like maybe it's too late to start YouTube, and if you were to start from scratch today? In light of the market today, what would be some of your first tips? But before you answer that, if people want to check out your content, follow you, study your channel, learn from what you've been doing, we'll make sure it's in the show notes, but give a shout out to your stuff.
Yeah, so thank you. Dr. Eye Health is the channel. We're also on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on all those different channels. So you can spell out DOCTOR, Eye Health, or you can put in doctor. Eventually you'll find it. So thank you.
Amazing. We'll make sure to link that up in the show notes. And I also just want to acknowledge you, grateful for you being a part of our community, being at some of our events, the chance we've gotten to shake hands and connect, and just really you're an inspiring story in the video VRA community, from the action you've taken, the way you've implemented. And I know you've shared at a couple different things, VRA show and things like that. So always thank you for taking the time and adding massive value. We are truly grateful for you. As we go into a new year, or listeners are listening to this in a new year, if creators feel like it's too late, what would you say to that? But also, what would you say in light of a colleague comes to you right now and they're like, man, I want to start, but man, the world's noisy. Plus, people are watching Hulu and Netflix anyway. There's so much to do. Like, what should I do? How should I get started right now? What would you say?
Well, one, I want people to start. I think it's just, you know what, even if it's okay, if you feel shaky about investing, you're afraid to put yourself out there, you know what? Everybody has that fear. That's how everybody starts. That's how I started. I'm sure when you first started making your first video, you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. It's not inherently easy. And it takes courage to put yourself out there. But if you have clarity about who you're talking to and why, and the key topics you want to cover and really get your voice out there, showing up consistently, your skill set will constantly rise. And I've looked back and thought, you know what, during 2020, one of my best friends, he wanted to start a video game channel, and I encouraged him and I tried to help him a little bit. He eventually lost passion and gave up on it. But I look back, I'm like, I know other channels that never existed before and started in 2020. They're now almost 5 years in, and they have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. They're generating income. They're growing their brand. And that's because they started and they stuck with it. So it's scary at times, but really just getting going, showing up, waking up in the next day and saying, okay, let's see if we can do it again. Let's see if we can do it a little bit better. That's really the mindset to success, I think, when it comes to YouTube. You got to show up.
Strong advice and tips. And I want to thank you again for being on the podcast. And if you want more help showing up and learning how to get views, subscribers, all the YouTube best practices, we've got some incredible guests and solo rounds coming up on the Think Media podcast. But if you got value out of today's episode, like, rate, share, review wherever you watch or listen. My name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel. And I will catch you in the next episode.
What's for dinner?
What's for dinner? Yeah, what's for dinner?
for whiter teeth in one day.
Is it possible to make money from old content on your channel? Our guest earned $44,000 from a single YouTube video last year that wasn't even new content. Can you break down what the strategy was, what you did, and explain this?
You know, kind of the common advice that a lot of people will give on YouTube is don't make your videos too long. Well, this video was almost 3 hours long. It is difficult, right, to find time for content creation in sort of these fringe hours that you have. When I started, it was really just out of passion. And that's what I always tell people is that if you're going to do YouTube, you're going to work probably for a while for free.
You reached monetization in 9 months while working full-time. What were some of maybe the early challenges and also the key decisions that accelerated your growth? In today's episode of the Think Media Podcast, we're also going to be covering how to earn more money from your videos, specifically the RPM, and how to earn 3 to 4 times higher than the average rates. And she's going to be breaking down exactly how, and also going through her simple content strategy that has earned over $500,000 in 4 years. And she did all of this while working full-time as a nurse without any fancy or extra fancy gear. Plus, we'll talk a little bit about the essential mindset shifts for successful creators. Sometimes, whether it's negative comments, what other people may think, all of that can sometimes hold us back, and we will break through today on the podcast. Now, our guest, Jen, is a healthcare consultant by day and a YouTube powerhouse by night, who turned her passion for helping working moms into a channel with over 138,000 subscribers. Her practical cooking and lifestyle content has generated over $500,000 in just 4 years, all while maintaining her full-time career. From viral videos earning $44,000 in ad revenue to building a thriving community of working parents, Jen proves that with the right strategy, you can build a YouTube business alongside any career. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to go right up to what everybody wants to know, and that's the $44,000 video strategy. So you posted a video that wasn't new content, earned that much money from a single video. Can you break down what the strategy was, what you did, and explain this?
iPhone 16e has the best battery life for an iPhone this size, so nothing's stopping you from getting the high score, except the stairs, benches, and rails. iPhone 16e, latest iPhone, greatest price.
Reese's and Hershey's Zero Sugar. So delicious, you'll check the label twice.
Macaron lasts longer, so you can tackle
applesauce and avocado, berries, butter, coffee cream, drippy fingers, deviled eggs, and empanadas, red and green.
Bounty Macaron lets you clean spills without running out.
And Mommy's left us 7 down.
Bounty, quicker picker up.
I'm here for
your annual eye exam.
because I'm having trouble
Reading.
Exactly.
They sort of make me feel
Like I'm the most fabulous thing you've ever seen?
exactly.
I'll take them.
I mean, I'm kind of just as surprised as you are or as anyone is. It was sort of an experiment, and it was kind of born out of me needing to get out a video and not really having a lot of time to film new content. And I had seen some other channels in my same sort of niche or space on YouTube making these compilation videos, right? So you take kind of one section of your cooking. In my case, it was budget meals. And I went back through all of my old content because I thought to myself, well, I've been doing YouTube for a long time. I have a lot of videos on my channel. And I think that a lot of times as creators, we think, well, if we posted a video 2 years ago, people have already seen that. But that's not true, right? Because you always have new people coming to your channel. And so what I was able to do is take a bunch of my old videos, kind of edit them and chop them up into one big mega compilation of budget cooking, right? Which was really big last year and the year before due to grocery prices and inflation and all of that. And kind of the common advice that a lot of people will give on YouTube is don't make your videos too long. Well, this video was almost 3 hours long. And so I had no idea how it was going to be received, and it ended up just taking off. And so, really it was kind of out of necessity, but I also wanted to try something new that I hadn't tried before.
So did you change the edits at all? So to break it down, you went into your library, you looked at different videos you had done related to budget cooking. You threw them back into the timeline of a video editor? Do you edit your own videos?
I did at that time, yes.
And so what software were you using?
I use Power Director.
Okay, so you take your old YouTube videos, put them all in Power Director. Did you just leave them, or did you edit it up a little bit?
Yeah, I edited it up a little bit because a lot of those previous videos that I had done were sponsored videos. So I wanted to kind of take the sponsored portion out. And I also kind of listened through to see if there was anything that didn't really make sense. So I wouldn't say it was a huge amount of editing because obviously the content itself is already done. It's just kind of piecing it all together.
Okay, so minimal edit. Did you shoot any new content?
I think I shot an intro and an outro and the sponsored portion of the video, but that was it.
Nice. So the strategy for listeners is thinking about this idea of using compilations. We also have sometimes called these content marathons. We're launching a bunch of new ones right now because it's kind of logical, and I did the same. I shot new intros, new outros, new transitions, but there's a lot of times so much gold in our library that we can tap into. And go a little bit deeper here. This singular video earned $44,000. Like, why do you think that is? And that's such an extraordinary amount of money from a singular video. 3 hours is probably helpful because of multiple ad spots. But if you look behind the scenes, what are some of the things you're seeing?
Well, I think, first of all, it was me kind of taking advantage of a current trend, right? Or like, what is a current problem that people are looking to solve on YouTube? They're looking for cheap meals and inexpensive ideas that they can use to feed their family. And so I think that the topic itself was able to kind of launch it into the algorithm. Now, another thing I want to say is that it didn't take off right away, right? I think it took me a little over a year to reach 1 million views on that video, but it was slow and steady. And the great thing about that is that even now when I look in my YouTube analytics, even last month I earned $800 from that video, something I posted a long time ago. And so I think also, like you said, having the length of the video being longer allows YouTube to place all of those different ad spots in it. And then too, just having advertiser friendly content that is applicable to an audience such as mine, which are primarily 25 to 65-year-old women. They're the spenders in the house. They're the ones that advertisers want to advertise to. And so my content in general is very advertiser friendly, but I think particularly for that video, the demographics and the subject and everything just kind of lined up perfectly.
That's a great transition into this next question about RPM and how much individual videos earn. You mentioned in our pre-survey that you're getting 3 to 4 times higher RPMs than average. But before we even get that deep, can you break it down simply for listeners that are like, okay, what kind of insider language are we talking about here? What does RPM mean? So what is your understanding of how would you explain RPM to somebody who's brand new to YouTube?
Yeah, so RPM is revenue per mil, I think MILLE, which is per 1,000 views. So basically it's how much advertisers are paying per 1,000 views that you receive on your YouTube channel. And there's other things that go into that in terms of watch time. But, and when you say, it's funny because Sean, when you say, oh, you're getting 3 to 4 times the average RPM, I'm like, I don't even really realize what the average RPM is. Like, I've heard of $10 being average. I don't know that my RPM has ever been that low. I looked for 2024 and my RPM for the year 2024 was $27, which I understand is a bit higher, but I think that's just due to like I mentioned before, having advertiser friendly content. I really don't post controversial things, which I guess in the end might hurt me a little a little bit, because I may not be getting that kind of clickbaity stuff that others are getting. You know, if you make content that is, I don't want to say family friendly, but you know what I mean when I say that. It's kind of universal to a large group of people. You're not saying anything offensive. You have good retention in your videos. People, you know, tend to watch till the end. Then in my experience, I've been able to kind of achieve those higher RPMs.
Man, that's incredible. And I think this is a good thing for listeners to be considering. You know, I looked it up in Gemini, the AI that is owned by Google and YouTube, and it's all the same company. They say that the average RPM in the US is around $2 to $5 per 1,000 views. When you said 10, I was like, no, that's not average. 10 is really high. 10 is super good. If you're at 27, that's extraordinary. And I think that's a great strategy. Yes, when family friendly might sound like it could be such sanitized content, but it just means accessible to any audience. If you layer on stuff like profanity or violence or controversial topics, it's just going to limit how much advertisers want to advertise in your videos. You nailed it though. I think also when you spoke to like an age demographic and the spenders, because I think one of the best ways to think about RPM is simply that advertisers want to get in front of somebody who actually has the purchasing power and interest to spend money on their product. And so it's understandable too why RPMs are higher in the United States than maybe in a developing country that wouldn't have the same buying power, or there's not even the shipping of that product, the infrastructure to get the product to the person. And so if somebody was after luxury goods, or baby boomers were after financial products for investments, that's an entirely different audience in terms of the advertiser's perspective. And so that's really incredible that you're getting that. And then so if you break that down compared to what you're also just saying, not only do you have higher RPM, but if you also then do a longer video and you marry those two things together, 3 hours long. Now, when you put ads on that compilation, do you just let YouTube do it? Do you just check the box that says let YouTube place the ads, or do you go in and actually manually place ads on something like that?
On that particular video, I just let YouTube do it, and I do double check it before I make the video live. And when I went in there and looked at the timeline of the ads that YouTube had placed, it was like bing, 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 bing. You know, all throughout the timeline, I saw there was a bunch of ads, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. And obviously, it looks a little different because it's a 3-hour video, kind of squashed into this little timeline. But yeah, I just let them do it for that particular video.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so you said 1 million views, but even on 1 million views, right? It's a little over 1 million.
Yeah, I think it's 1.1 now, or yeah.
Yeah, $44,000 is an insane amount of money for most channels. Like again, a $2 RPM would be 2 million, or 2,000. It would be $2,000 on a million viewed video. So to make $44,000 on a million viewed video speaks to also how high the RPM is, plus the length, plus the volume of ads. So man, we came out fast on this episode of the Think Video Podcast, thinking about some ways. So if you're listening, think about how could you improve maybe the length of your content, maybe the target audience of your content. Doesn't even mean you need to change your niche, but who are you speaking to? Are you speaking to maybe an older audience that has credit card in hand potentially and actually has buying power? And if your content is not for them, that's also maybe why you're earning less, and it could influence your future strategy in terms of how much you make in ad revenue, and definitely try out the compilation strategy. Well, take us through your content planning process while working full time. To this day, you're still working full time?
Yeah, and I sort of feel like a unicorn in the YouTube space, because I feel like everyone is wanting to get to that point where they can quit their job, you know, and I financially, you know, I've been making enough on YouTube now that I probably could have quit my job years ago, but I really have no interest in doing that. My career is really fulfilling to me, and I worked really hard for my education, and I get a lot of I get a lot of fulfillment out of my job. And so it's something that's really important to me to keep. Also, I do like the structure of having a regular paycheck. I like a 401k. I like health insurance, all of those things that come with a traditional job. But yeah, it is difficult, right, to find time for content creation in sort of these fringe hours that you have, especially when you're working a full-time job. I want to say one thing that helps me is that my kids are older now. So I have a 15-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. Could I have done this when they were babies and toddlers? Scaled a YouTube channel while working full-time when I had a 2-year-old and a baby at home? Probably not, right? Also fair to mention is that I have a husband and we share pretty equally in the children's responsibilities. So I don't want to give the impression that I'm Superwoman and I can do things that other people can't. But it is a matter of just deciding that you're going to succeed and then planning your time around that.
This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. StreamYard is our go-to platform here at Think Media for live streaming to Facebook and YouTube and for recording our video podcast. It has an incredibly easy-to-use interface for built-in branding, transitions, text lower thirds, and seamlessly bringing on guests. And they just added an awesome new feature called local recording. This allows you to take the quality to another level by separating out your audio and video from your guests, giving you more control over your content for later use. This feature is perfect for video and podcast creators. And so to get a special deal on StreamYard right now and to see all the features that are included, just go to streamwiththink.com. That is streamwiththink.com. Man, it's an encouraging word. What's interesting is another Video Ranking Academy student that was just on the podcast wanted to keep Becky Park on Poshmark, wanted to keep her choir job, even though YouTube actually, her job kind of became a side hustle and YouTube was kind of like the main thing. But what I love about that is while never want to even, YouTube takes a ton of hard work, patience. There is no guarantees. I love what you're saying. It's just possible. I think it's so possible to maintain your full-time job, love a full-time job, have some stability there, retirement there, but to also build this out on the side. Seasons of life, younger kids, maybe a little bit harder, but depending on your seasons of life, this is figure-outable. And really, I just want to encourage listeners embrace your season, a little bit at a time. And while your results are extraordinary, $500,000, I just am so passionate about this extra $5, $10, $15, $25,000 a year type of YouTube channel for a lot of people. And it's possible. And I want to go a little bit deeper because specifically then though, how do you do it? If you've got your working schedule, when do you film? Do you have daylight to film? Do you need lights? Just if you kind of break us into your routine.
Yeah. So typically so you mentioned in the beginning, I'm a nurse by background, but I don't work a traditional patient care job anymore. So I work more on the consulting side. So I do have kind of quote normal hours, 8 to 4, Monday through Friday. So that does help in terms of having a block of time on the weekends to film. And so one thing I want to encourage people to do, and this is dependent on your niche, but if you can do it, your life is your content, right? So you are the content, right? And so a lot of times what I would normally be doing anyway, which is going grocery shopping or cooking dinner for my family, that's something I'd normally be doing anyway, but I'm just filming it. Right. And so a lot of times I don't even have to set aside extra time. Obviously, there's times when I do kind of more involved videos and have to plan things out. But you don't have to do that, and people are looking for connection and relatability. They're looking to see the real you. They don't want a polished newscaster version of you. They want you in all your authenticity. And I think that by blocking time off, even if you do have a full-time job, it's possible, after your kids go to bed. Now, it doesn't mean that you're never going to have downtime. Yeah, you're probably not going to have a lot of downtime. You're going to be working a lot. But for me, that was okay. And you mentioned also just having, even if someone could make an extra $2,000 a month on YouTube, right? That's really powerful. And my reason why, or kind of my, my motivation behind it is that I want to fully fund my kids' college education. Education is really important to me. I want to make sure that they kind of have that start in life. So being able to do that for them, and then being able to take that extra money and do things like travel, take more trips, do things like that. So that's kind of my motivation behind it. I do try to plan my content out, but I'm also a huge procrastinator. So sometimes it's like best laid plans, but I'm lucky in that I've been able to build a really incredible audience of people who, a lot of them will watch anything I post. Not all of them, right? But a lot of people I've built that relationship with over the years. And so kind of whatever I feel led to make a video about, they are interested in it.
It's really inspiring. And I love your vision of tying it back to a why, like the motivation to fund the kids' college education, freedom for your family to travel. I'm curious about two aspects of this, though. How long did it take you to get comfortable? Yes, you're already going to go grocery shopping. Yes, you're already going to be cooking for your family. But there's some listeners right now that are wanting to start their channel. They've been planning and thinking about starting their channel for a while. Well, they've gotten a few videos out, but it's so much brain fatigue to be like, if I'm cooking, I got to set the camera up. Oh, did I do it right? And if they're cooking, if that was their niche, oh no, now I burnt it because I'm trying to think about cooking, but I'm learning this whole new skill set. It's like a different part of my brain. And how am I acting on camera? And I'm trying to focus on and then the same thing at grocery store. I'm filming in public. Oh, people are like looking at me. Jen said it was so easy, and I get it. But like, I'm trying to. So speak to like that learning curve, because I agree with you, especially eventually. Like, you are the content. So if you could just turn the camera on and deliver the hook in the middle and the outro, but what's like the learning curve to kind of get comfortable with filming in that day-to-day life, and with that, how did you develop that back when you were starting?
Yeah.
Up a plan to make Easter even better. Snickers satisfies.
Hello, handsome. And hello, random chair. Clean up with Apple Intelligence means goodbye, chair. iPhone 16e. Latest iPhone, greatest price.
So I would say that in the beginning, voiceovers are your friend. You can set up a camera and do something in your kitchen, meal prep, cook a meal, whatever you want to do. And then, if you don't want to get too fancy, speed up the footage a little bit, chop it up, and then do a voiceover over it. And in fact, if I go back and look at some of my earliest videos, that's all they were. In fact, one of my first videos that hit over 1 million views, I never showed my face on camera. It was a meal prep video, and I just set the camera up and I cooked. And then when I put it in my editing software, I took the sound off and I talked over it, and I added a little bit of music. And that video also, hit over 1 million views. And so it doesn't need to be fancy. I think, like you said, a lot of people get intimidated with all of the gear and the fancy setups and the lights and the this and the that. And I always try to tell people, I bought a Canon G7X Mark II for $500, and I made over $500,000 with it. So, if you could do that, anything's possible. And same with going out in public. You can get your B-roll and then do a voiceover over it, because I will admit it was a transition for me also. I would say it wasn't until just the last maybe year or so that I was even comfortable going into a store and filming in public. And I still am very conscious. I don't want people to notice me. I'm not one of those people that's hold my camera out, and shouting in the middle of Walmart. But yeah, you kind of have to find what works for you. And once your comfort level goes up, you can kind of change your content around that if you want to get on camera more.
That's really great advice. In fact, that's probably one of the best strategies I've ever heard, doing voiceovers at the start or even now. Voiceovers are your friend, because rather than thinking you're going to also narrate some great video while you're in the kitchen, just so listeners understand, your goal is to just get the shots. Now that you have the shots, you're showing yourself cooking, you're showing the ingredients, you're showing the eggs being broken, and then you throw that all into a timeline, and now you actually have a chance to take a breath, be focused, and you're also, kids might be asleep, it might be dark, you're trying to be quiet, but you're sitting in your office, so now you're kind of in a different zone as you're going to put the video together. And in doing so, it's such a great format. You got 1 million views off of that format. And so I love that idea. And I also want to talk about editing. You mentioned that you edited the compilation last year, but it's something different now. Did you eventually delegate editing, or are you still editing?
So I actually just last month hired an editing service. So I'm kind of dipping my toe back into that. There have been times during my YouTube career that I have worked with an editor consistently. There was a time period of about 2 years that I worked pretty much, I was publishing a lot of content, like 3 to 4 videos a week. And so I had a dedicated editor that was helping me with that. It did become a little bit cost prohibitive, and so I stepped away from that. I don't know, I gotta say, the editing thing is really something that I am struggling with right now, in terms of I know I can do it myself, but I could be so much more prolific with my content if I didn't. And so that's why I'm, I hired a service and I'm going more back towards that. But I really feel strongly that when you're first starting out on YouTube, I don't know how you feel, but I personally feel like you should learn to edit your own videos.
Is it the final vote?
We'll finally know which egg is loved most. Reese's or Cadbury? Choose one.
I choose both. Celebrate Easter with Reese's and Cadbury.
Macaroni lasts longer, so you can tackle
Applesauce and avocado, berries, butter, coffee cream, crispy fingers, deviled eggs, and dip bananas red and green.
Bounty Macaroni lets you clean spills without running out.
And mommy's glass of 7 down.
Bounty, quicker picker up.
You are great divers. You don't need me around.
Based on the incredible true story. His last mission.
He's gone. No, he's not.
Will become his finest hour.
I'm not losing a diver today.
Last breath.
But I personally feel like you should learn to edit your own videos. I think it gives you so much more appreciation for the process, and it really, I don't know, it can be really enjoyable, right? So I still enjoy editing my own videos. I just don't know if it's the best use of my time right now.
Yeah, that's some great advice. And I think people probably breathed a breath of fresh air hearing you to say you're struggling. You're so successful, and yet this is hard. And the seasons, you're juggling things. It takes work. Some people probably think, I wish I could afford an editor. But also, even that's hard. because then it's working with them and it didn't work out, and then you feel like you wasted some money maybe, and so that could be a challenge. So then you pick it back up here, and so thanks for sharing about just that. It's not just all smooth and unicorns and rainbows all the time. You know, sometimes there's challenges, and I would agree with you. The big idea around if you are just starting and you learn to edit your own videos kind of makes me feel like even an entrepreneur, I've heard advice from different mentors I've had that like, well, there's no way you could ever master every single thing in a business. It's nice if you've done it a little, which a lot of people do when they're starting. Like maybe your gift is not accounting and finances, but at least you've done it a little. Maybe your gift is not ultimately email marketing if your online business grows, but at least you understand open rates and you understand. And then same thing, maybe eventually you're going to delegate editing. But if you've never done it, it makes it easier to hire later, easier to understand, easier to know what you're looking for. And then for the storyteller, AKA the content creator, editing itself is kind of its art form. I think it helps you reinforce even how you communicate. I know listening to myself, I'm like, wow, I say a lot. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. And so by editing my content, I think improved as a communicator. And I think there's something about embracing the lessons that every season teaches us. It doesn't have to be that way forever, but when you're wearing all of the hats, there's a lot of learning that can come from those various seasons. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I actually give that advice when I'm at work too. And I'm teaching kind of how to present and public speaking and facilitation. I tell people, I say, record your presentation and listen back to it. You're going to learn more doing that. And you can be critical of yourself and you might cringe a little bit, but in the end, like you said, it's going to make you a better communicator.
So I actually do want to go back to the beginning of your story early on when you got monetized, some mindset shifts, talking about even negative comments and sometimes, dealing with criticism and how you've done that. But before we get there, one of the things you have done is you've made it a priority and you've been intentional about building an email list, and you also have a freebie strategy. Let's go high level. Why, as a very successful content creator as well, did you make it a priority to build an email list? A lot of creators think about, okay, I want to get monetized, I want to get views. Why did you build an email list? When did you start it? What software and how did you even figure that out? And then we'll talk about the freebie strategy.
Yeah, so I want to say I started kind of the email list building, maybe it was in around 2019. And I started with MailChimp, which I did not enjoy. It was very confusing to me. And once I got to a certain point where I was getting more and more subscribers, you get more subscribers on your email list and they charge you more. And so at that point, I started looking into other options in terms of platforms because I knew at some point I wanted to do digital products and online courses and have a website and all that. So I ended up going with Kajabi, which I've been with them for several years now. I was able to release a course a couple years ago and kind of host that on their platform along with my website where I can post recipes, and then I can have my email list integrated there as well, which I find it all super user friendly. But in terms of building an email list, I think it's really important to have diversity in terms of where your audience is. And personally, I've seen a couple of, I wouldn't say necessarily friends, but acquaintances in the YouTube space that have gotten their channel taken down with no warning for whatever reason, whether it's a false copyright strike or someone hacks your channel or something. And so if your channel you wake up one day and it's gone for whatever reason, how are you going to get in touch with your viewers? Are they following?
Lifesavers gummies. Up the wow.
Hello, handsome. And hello, random chair. Clean up with Apple Intelligence means goodbye, chair. iPhone 16e. Latest iPhone, greatest price.
Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
They following you on Instagram, or do you have an email list, things like that. And so that's kind of where I came from it, the angle that I came from it at. And then I also just wanted a way to be able to deliver free value to my viewers in terms of printed recipes. So a lot of times when people are watching a cooking video, what's the number one question they have? Where can I find these recipes? Where can I print these recipes? And so I knew that was a way to be able to kind of formalize that process in terms of like, okay, subscribe to my email list and I'll give you this free printable.
I love the vision, very intentional to build like a online business that's more holistic. We have used Kajabi for years as well, and it's really nice to have the all-in-one. And that was actually my same trajectory. A lot of people start with MailChimp because it's a good free way to start. You start building it, but then as you start looking down the road and you start looking at things like, oh yeah, if I am going to have a website and if I do want digital products and I do want, how did you decide for your niche what digital product to create and how was that experience?
I ended up creating a meal planning course, which I think it was about 2 years ago now that I did that. And I knew that I wanted something that was low ticket. So I want to say I sold it for like $29. Is it my best work? No, but did it force me to kind of get out there and do something different and sell a product that was mine instead of working with a sponsor to sell their product? Yes, and I want to do more of that in the future. And I think it's just like anything, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And so it was kind of, again, a little bit of an experiment for me, but then I also wanted the ability for my viewers to get more content from me that wasn't just on my YouTube channel, right? So that meal prep or meal planning course I created was all separate from my YouTube channel. It's all different new content. And so I kind of have a lot of ideas swirling around in my head about digital products and courses and memberships and all of that, but there's only so much time in the day to make those come to fruition.
And to be clear, your freebie strategy, you mentioned it, but this is because you have recipes. The way that people can get the printable recipes is by joining your email list. Did I get that right?
Correct. Yeah, I just set up a super simple landing page. They put their email list in and boom, it takes them to a page where they can just download the PDF of all of the recipes. Yep.
That's awesome. So it's so cool to think through how it ties into and supports your content, is supplemental, a different way of consuming it. And in doing so, it also then helps you diversify your audience. And then speak a little bit to like description box optimization, like just how thoughtful. I think that sometimes a mistake we can make is not making it explicitly clear the steps people can make to get to our page or get the thing. Or sometimes even worse is we try to do that, but when I'm doing channel reviews and like our communities and stuff, sometimes I'll click on links and I'll be like, this is a dead link, or it goes, and you think, some people are like, I'm not sure why my email list isn't growing. You're like, well, there's no link to it. And when I click the link you thought there was to it, the link doesn't work. I mean, that might be thing one to fix. So this stuff could be overwhelming, but if you think through that process of transitioning, and actually a lot of our listeners do want to get leads and they want to build an email list and they may just think that people are going to magically get there, but there might be some steps. How do you think about it in terms of like articulating in your video and helping people make it all the way on to being subscribed?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and if you're just listening, you're not seeing me, but right now I'm holding up a cookbook, a printable cookbook. And if you can show this in your video and show kind of how you're using it, like, oh, this is the recipe. People are like, oh, I want that. I want that, because some people do, like myself personally, I'm an elder millennial who loves stuff on paper, right? Even if you don't like stuff on paper, you can still put the PDF on your iPad and use it there. So I think if people see you using the freebie in your video, you just direct them, go down to the description box, click on that link. The call to action, I think, and I think it depends a lot on your audience, but I feel like most of my viewers now are sort of familiar with the description box. I say a lot in my content, hey, I'm using this knife. I love it. I got it on Amazon. I'm going to link it in the description box below. I say that a lot in my videos, because if I don't, people will ask me in my comments for the links. I need the link for this. I need the link for this. And so not only is it a way to build your email list, make affiliate income, but it's also just better. It's a better experience for your viewers, right? Because when people see you using things and they don't have that, they want to get that. And the easier and more seamless you can make that for them, the better off it is for everyone.
Dayquil Vapor Cool. It's Dayquil plus a rush of Vicks Vapors.
T-Megarol lasts longer, so you can tackle
Applesauce and avocado, berries, butter, coffee cream, drippy fingers, deviled eggs, and dip bananas red and green.
Bounty Megarol lets you clean spills without running out.
And mommy's left us slipping down.
Bounty, quicker picker up.
Hi, I'm Mike Singletary, Hall of Fame linebacker for Chicago Bears. Instawork helps you build that winning warehouse team. Take control of your staffing. Connect with Instawork today. Every shift, every position, everything matters. Instawork helps you build that winning team.
It's great advice. And the front half of this podcast has been packed with a lot of tactics that could take us to the next level, even some more advanced stuff. But I do want to now take it back in kind of this final section for when you were starting and lessons we could learn early on. Maybe we've already been doing this for years, but we're not monetized yet, or we're still having some challenges. If we go back to the beginning, you reached monetization in 9 months while working full time. What were some of maybe the early challenges and also the key decisions that accelerated your growth?
So I think the first thing to remember is, or when I think about back to kind of those early days, I never started off wanting to even make $1,000 on YouTube. I really had no idea of how the monetization system worked. I mean, I knew that you could make money on YouTube. Did I even dream that I would be able to do that? Not really. I mean, I thought in the beginning, if I can make an extra $800 a month and pay for my family's groceries, how awesome would that be? Because it's like I have a hobby and I'm getting paid for my hobby and it's paying for my family's groceries. I was thinking like really small. And so when I started, it was really just out of passion. And that's what I always tell people is that if you're going to do YouTube, you're going to work probably for a while for free. And so you better be liking what you're doing. Don't go into a niche that you don't like or aren't passionate about just because you think it has a high RPM or something like that, right? It'd be like if I knew that, finance has, pays a lot. And so, no, I'm not passionate about finance, right? I don't want to teach people about finance. I don't want to relate to people about finance. And so I think choosing something that you're passionate about and also just experimenting, right? Especially take that time in the early days of your channel and try different things. You don't have to be laser focused, niche down right away. What really helped my channel is just experimenting with different kind of buckets within the home cooking space, right? So I started posting meal prep videos and those just took off, right? And so once I figured out kind of what was working and what people wanted to watch, then I doubled down on that content, right? Then I think, people want to watch meal prepping. I'm doing a meal prepping video every week, and so every week people know they're going to come back and they're going to get that meal prep video. People really like Costco hauls. Okay, I can do one of those a month, and so I think just kind of experimenting with different things, and then also really knowing what the trends are at the time. When I was first starting out, the keto diet was like huge. It was keto, low carb was everywhere. And I was kind of doing it here and there. And so I started posting keto videos and those started taking off. So I think it's a combination of just experimenting, knowing what your audience wants to watch, and then also kind of what are the trendy topics that are being searched right now on YouTube.
Some really powerful insights we can all apply. And one of the things you also mentioned was a mindset shift related to negative comments. What was your experience with that? Was it unexpected, worse than you expected? And I know this, a lot of listeners, I think there's many fears that hold us back from maybe pressing record in the first place. We might be thinking about somebody we went from high school with that bullied us, and that's probably not thinking about us, but like, what are they going to think? What are people in my hometown going to think? What's my family going to think? Am I going to be criticized for this thing or that other thing?
You know, at the end of the day, anyone that's interacting with your video, whether they're leaving a positive or a negative comment, that means they watched at least part of the video. You know, they're putting views and money in your pocket. What's the thing you always say about going to the bank?
Yeah, I always see them in the comments, but I never see them at the bank.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think too, just being able to understand that if that person was standing right here in front of you, or you were sitting at a table with them having coffee, they would never say these things to you, right? The reason why some people say these things is because they can do it without any repercussions. They're an avatar, they're a username behind a screen. And that's all it is, right? They're not your friend, they're not your family, they're not your teacher, they're not your spouse, they're not anything to you, right? And so opinions are, I was probably going to say an inappropriate quote, but inappropriate quote, but I won't say it, but everyone has an opinion, right? And that doesn't mean it's right. But I think, you know, some of those, some people really will get to your insecurities. I actually ended up getting braces a couple of years ago because so many people commented on how my teeth were crooked, right? And so, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I took my extra money that I made from YouTube and went to the orthodontist and...
The hater paid for your braces.
I guess. And I don't want to make it sound like it's all negative, right? Because the negativity can be really loud, but when you step back and objectively look at it, and I think about how many comments am I getting every day that are so positive? Thank you for your content. Thank you for being relatable. Thank you for being there. You know, I just had a lady tell me the other day that, you know, she had a really hard time in her life and my videos are what helped get her through it. You know, that kind of stuff, that's what matters, right? Not like the very vocal 1% that's, you know, critiquing you on whatever. Look at your like ratio, you know, it's probably 98%. And so I think it's a combination of just being true to yourself, knowing that you can't take those things personally because those people don't personally know you. And then just looking at it objectively, there's a lot more positive than negative.
That's all really encouraging. And I mean, I know sometimes comments still get to me. It gets better, but like they still get to me. That's kind of like, you know, hazard pay, I suppose. Like different jobs have different things that just come with the territory. And the sheer nature of putting something out on the internet, trying to not take it personally, because you're exactly right. They don't know you personally. I actually heard one person say, if they can't text you the criticism, then ignore it.
Ooh, I love that. That's great advice.
It's really good. Yeah. It's like, I mean, we should be open to constructive criticism, especially if we're doing something that's, you know, harmful and like, so anyone who speaks the truth and love to us that's so powerful. But for them to actually have the context to know us, that's who we should be listening to. People are just zooming by on a snapshot. And to your point, we might see the haters in the comments, but we never see them at the bank. Like sometimes just the sheer nature of your content's being consumed is a positive thing. And the way that ad revenue works, you know, it just helps move everything forward. A couple final questions here. I'm curious what the biggest impact of this success has been on your family, but even how you've transformed personally. I think a lot about the fact that like silver play button, over 100,000 subscribers, $500,000 earned plus. like there's those achievements and accolades, which are incredible. I also think about you can't do YouTube at the level you've done it without experiencing some personal transformation. Like we really kind of have to become new people in the process. And I'm just wondering what that experience has been like and how it feels now as you reflect on your journey of the impact on your family and on you personally.
Yeah, that's such a good question. Sometimes I just think to myself, I run a business. I have a business. I'm a CEO of a business, right? And so that in and of itself is just wild to me because like I told you when I first started, I thought, oh, if I can pay for my groceries, that's fine. But to run a multiple six-figure business it's mind-blowing, right? And I've learned so much about not just about online business, but about taxes and payroll and all of that stuff that you really don't want to learn about but you kind of have to out of necessity. And I think just overall it has really done a lot for my confidence to do something and do it successfully. And I have to remind myself not to compare myself to other people because sure, there's a lot of YouTubers who are way more successful than I am. I was just thinking the other day, well, I'm never going to get to 1 million subscribers. But then I thought, so what if I do and what if I don't? Like I can be happy in this current moment with what I have. And I think so. Yeah, I think owning a business, increasing my confidence, and then also I'm just really proud of the community that I've been able to kind of cultivate with my viewers. I really value authenticity. And so I don't ever sugarcoat anything. Like you were mentioning earlier about burning something in the kitchen. I show all that because that's going to happen, right? And at the end of the day, people just want to know you and relate to you and learn something useful in the process.
It's such powerful stuff. I have one final question for you, but before I ask that, shout your stuff out. If people want to connect with you, check out your channel, anything you want to promote, and I want to make sure everything's in the show notes for you and for the listeners. But yeah, where can people follow with you, connect with you?
Yeah, so you can just search my name, Jen Chapin, Chapin on YouTube. Funny story, there's actually another Jen Chapin who is Harry Chapin, who is a singer, his daughter. That's not me. That's not me. I don't sing on YouTube. But if you search my name, you'll find my channel and lots of cooking videos. If you are wanting to figure out how to get dinner on the table for your family in a way that is accessible and easy and a lot of times budget friendly, check out my channel. You can also find me on Instagram. My handle over there is just @Jen Chapin. And then also in the show notes, there's going to be a link to download a free e-cookbook. So it's called the 1 Hour Freezer Fix. And basically I share with you how to take a shopping list of grocery ingredients, and you can prep 5 meals for your family in 1 hour. And it's only around $65. So you're going to have dinner for your family for the week for under $100, and your kids are going to like the recipes too. So,
man, what a valuable resource. As a newer dad of a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, I'm excited to check that out. And thank you for adding so much value on the podcast today. This final question is, if you were going to tell somebody who's watching this, who's working full time, but they're thinking they can't do this, or they're just thinking about self-doubt and a little bit overwhelmed, what would be some of your final maybe inspirational insights and maybe some action steps that you would encourage them to take?
I think it's really important to think not about what you can't do, but think about what you can do, right? And a lot of times when you have a full-time job, you have to be really productive in those pockets of time that you have. So whether that's the 2 hours after your kids go to bed, or an hour before they get up in the morning, or even on the weekends when you have a longer block of time, when I think about my schedule, I think of all of that time that I'm not working as opportunity, right? So either it's an opportunity to spend time with my family, an opportunity to further my business, and an opportunity to, maybe have some self-care time. That's kind of how I look at it. And if you are persistent enough and you are consistent enough and you want it bad enough, you will find time to do it, even if it's in those small pockets of time.
Jen, thank you so much for adding value. And Think Media podcast community, thank you for listening today. If you got value, smash like and rate, share, review, subscribe wherever you watch or listen to the Think Media podcast. My name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel, and I'll connect with you in a future episode.
Tell us, how you're feeling.
A little overwhelmed.
Not me. I'm perfectly whelmed.
What about yesterday's overwhelming board meeting?
As we can all see here,
you know what we're looking at. Let's quiet the noise and find some clarity.
Open your eyes.
Wait, this is the cancer intervention, right?
Yeah.
Episode is brought to you by StreamYard. StreamYard is our go-to platform here at Think Media for live streaming to Facebook and YouTube and for recording our video podcast. It has an incredibly easy-to-use interface for built-in branding, transitions, text lower thirds, and seamlessly bringing on guests. And they just added an awesome new feature called local recording. This allows you to take the quality to another level by separating out your audio and video from your guests, giving you more control over your content for later use. This feature is perfect for video and podcast creators, and so to get a special deal on StreamYard right now and to see all the features that are included, just go to streamwiththink.com. That is streamwiththink.com. You know what's fascinating is there's this idea of react content, and there's been some stats that have come out that have revealed that a lot of millennials and Gen Zers actually prefer to watch sports or current events or things in the media or things in pop culture via their favorite streamer or their favorite YouTuber. So more than actually going and watching the news, they want to watch the news through someone like you reacting to it, because they find someone they can kind of hang out with. And you know, it's good or bad. One of the reasons for this is that there's more kind of loneliness and some fragmentation in culture around the world. So some people, I'm one of them, might sit down at lunch, turn on my phone, and instead of going and watching the news, I'll watch one of my favorite creators recap of the news and see their reactions, because it's like you're watching it with a friend, right? You're watching it with somebody that you have context with. And it is more interesting because the way they react or when they show enthusiasm or excitement, it sticks with me, right? And so don't be afraid to include moments where you naturally get excited about your topic. But we're not done. In fact, this is probably the most important part of the video because we're going to cover the 3 biggest takeaways from the 3-part series. Let's dive in. Number 1. The new YouTube authority comes from experience, not production. Here's what the research shows. Viewer trust and memory formation are highest when creators share real experience and genuine insights. This explains why channels built on authentic expertise consistently outgrow those built on production value alone. Your lived experience is your competitive advantage in an AI-driven world.
With Lean Cuisine, you can lose up to 18 pounds in 12 weeks. Flavorful, not calorie-full.
Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has wavy edges.
It's no ordinary square. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has wavy perforations that tear so much better, with more cushiony softness. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
With Greenhouse, you can find and hire twice as many star employees, spend 39% less on third-party recruiting, and get a better ROI on hiring, no matter the size of your team. Hire better altogether with Greenhouse.
Pack at your pace, store your things until you're ready. Then we deliver to your new home. Pods.
Take it back. I said beagle, not bagel.
Oh.
CarMax has a 10-day money-back guarantee. Why don't you?
Because you need like razors and stuff.
Experience CarMax, and you'll never settle for anything less.
Placed by robots. So the future is bright for real creators like yourself. You know, one of the reasons why I love this insight is because it's encouraging and tells us we won't be replaced by robots. One of the things we learned in a previous episode was about one of Google's ranking factors, or the way they evaluate websites, which was EEAT. It was experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness, which are human attributes. And I wrote down 3 things that I am going to try to apply this year that I think will benefit you as well, so that there is continuous growth on your YouTube channel and you don't get stuck or plateaued. Number 1 is commit to personal growth. If you want your YouTube channel to keep growing, you need to keep growing. You are the incubator for your content. You know, one of the fears you might have when you start creating content on YouTube is, what if I run out of things to say? What if I eventually run out of topics to talk about? And the only reason that would happen is if you stop growing. But the cool thing is, if you keep growing, if you keep learning, if you keep having experiences, if you keep creating new stories because you're actually living this thing and challenging yourself and putting yourself out there, then you will continue to grow, and so will your YouTube channel. You know, we talk about the 10% edge. You don't need to be a super expert to start on YouTube. You only need to be 10% ahead of the people you're helping. You only need to be 10% ahead of somebody else that's just getting started. But you will stall, and you will get stuck, and you will plateau if you don't continue to grow. And so commit to personal growth this year, meaning commit to gaining new experiences. I want to encourage you that you can start now. You can start with the experience you have, but I want to warn you, it's not going to be enough for the future. And that's okay. And you should feel a little pressure. You should feel a little bit like none of this is going to be guaranteed, but the future will take care of itself if you commit to personal growth today. The second application would be create new experiences and stories. I kind of already touched on that, but it's like, how can I continue to put myself in places of pressure so that I have new stories to tell? Personalized stories, like Google tells us, experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. When someone's lived it, when they've done it, when they're not just on YouTube talking about it, but they're in the real world. That's why at Think Media, we use the term player coaches. Like whether it's Craig or Nate or Kyle, like we do this video production stuff. These guys have worked in colleges, and Kyle's doing church audio video lighting every single Sunday, and I've done all kinds of freelance work and all kinds of photography and all this different stuff. And we say this to all of our Think Media coaches who have their own YouTube channels. It's like, we aren't just coaches, we're player coaches. We want to stay in the game, getting new stories and experiences. Like, I have a program called Video Ranking Academy. I didn't just rank videos 5 years ago. I ranked videos yesterday. Like, I'm continuing, but it's also new stories. How did I do it? I want to encourage you in your niche, create new experiences this year. Create new stories this year. And this is an interesting way of viewing the world, where I think for the content creator, pain really can be reframed into something super positive. Because the best stories are ones that are usually painful and have conflict and have challenge and are somewhat dramatic. So the pain you go through in your life, the mistakes you make, the experiments you do. See, there's no movie that is good if there's no conflict in the movie. There's no ups and downs. There's no wins and losses. There's no getting knocked down and coming back. There's no underdog to it. So could it be that your own personal story, all the trauma and the pain and the challenges you're going through, that's the very ingredients that leads to greatness on your YouTube channel? But furthermore, I want to challenge you. I'm really just speaking to myself. Don't get comfortable, Sean. Don't shrink back from stretching yourself into new territory and creating new stories. And also, sometimes life just happens. In fact, that's a guarantee to all of us, right? And as life's happening, setbacks, challenges, getting punched in the gut, getting the wind knocked out of you, having these different things happen, these are new experiences, these are new stories. And for the storyteller, for the content creator, we want to be in these experiences. So get into the mud, get into the conflict, get out there, try stuff. Don't be afraid to fail, because even your failures are lessons and content that can be teaching moments for your channel. If you want to have good and interesting stories to tell, you need to live a life full of good stories and interesting stories. And then lastly, on number one of the three big insights from the report is stay endlessly curious. Be a source of epiphanies and insights by continuing to read, learn, and question. So if you feel like, again, your level of depth is here, that's fine. But you got to keep reading and keep studying. That's why for the content creator, you also do need to be a consumer. We say create more than you consume, but also strategically consume. What books are you reading? What is your PDP? What is your personal development plan? What online courses are you watching right now? What membership groups are you a part of? You know, I joined a membership recently, and it's like a sacred hour-long session on my calendar every month that I'm not going to miss, because I always need to be learning more, having new epiphanies myself, which leads to new experiences and experiments myself, which leads to new insights and stories, which then I can pass along to you. And so to be a great content creator, I think we have to be a strategic content consumer. Lifelong leaders are lifelong learners that are not randomly learning, but just never stop being curious about your subject matter. And I know that sometimes it might even get boring and redundant. So resell yourself, reinvigorate yourself, light your own fire, fan into flame your passion for your subject matter. Buy a couple more books, you know, listen to a new podcast, listen to something about your subject matter or adjacent to give you different divergent ideas that bring fresh inspiration to your channel. That's when you'll stop being an echo and you'll start being a voice, because people are like, man, there's some freshness to this channel. This channel feels fresh, feels new. It's not just an echo of other channels. How's it happening? Because of your commitment to personal growth and the strategic consumption of smart materials, because you remain endlessly curious. Now, the second big takeaway from the entire report is build a content ecosystem, not just videos. And that was one of the tips in this video, but let's kind of break this down. When viewers actively engage with organized thematic content, their engagement doubles over time. This means sustainable channel growth comes from creating interconnected content that rewards deeper viewer investment, not from making disconnected videos hoping to go viral. And so let me just encourage you, catch a vision for a theme, catch a vision for, you're not just making random videos or just some niche YouTube channel. What's like the greater brand? What's the greater core message? What is the ecosystem of content, and how well are you communicating that to your audience, to your viewers, as you build one video at a time? And then the third big takeaway from this report from Google of all the tips, and remember, part 1 and part 2 will be linked up in the show notes and it's all organized in a playlist, is emotional resonance is the new view magnet. This is a big deal. Emotional resonance. I don't know if you're watching some AI content. It's cool. There's a time and place for it. It's going to be a wave. People are going to make a lot of money and get a lot of views off it. But man, you know what we want now? You know what the thing is in 2025 and beyond? It's emotional resonance. It's like real people living real life. We're looking for real connection. And so here's what brain imaging shows. Brain imaging research shows viewer retention and memory spike by over 70% when they feel an emotional connection. This means your ability to make viewers feel something, whether through storytelling, whether through shared experiences, or whether through genuine enthusiasm, is now more valuable than any technical skill. The big theme of the report was also that you need a baseline of audio and video production value, but that's not the magic sauce. The real sauce. If you want to be the sauce boss, you want to be emotionally connecting. Sometimes we feel like if we tell a story, some viewers might click off because all they want is information. That's okay. Let them go. Because there's going to be a lot of places to get information, including places like ChatGPT or whatever. But the emotional connection and the community you build is your only safety and consistency for building a strong personal brand or media brand year after year. So of course, don't waste people's time with endless stories that are poorly organized, but weave in experiences, enthusiasm, and storytelling into the content that you're creating, and you're going to create a better connection and get more views and subscribers this year. Now, if you enjoy episodes like this and you find them valuable, it would mean the world to me if you like, rate, review, and share the Think Media podcast wherever you watch or listen. My name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel, and I can't wait to connect with you in a future episode.
What represents Cabot most would be pride.
Pride. Purpose is my favorite.
Pride. I'm going to say purpose.
Plaid symbolizes the fabric of Cabot.
Purpose, pride, and plaid.
It's how award-winning cheese gets made.
Team Macarol lasts longer, so you can tackle
Applesauce and avocado, berries, butter, coffee cream, crispy fingers, deviled eggs, and empanadas, red and green.
Bounty Macarol lets you clean spills without running out.
And Mom's left of 7 down.
Bounty, quicker picker-upper.
Creators have to realize this FTC is coming for creators. According to the FTC, you need to disclose so extensively. Make sure, right, if it's on YouTube, toggle the paid promotions button. You need to.
And in this episode of the Think Media podcast, we're going to be talking about the legal side of YouTube. We're going to be talking about some things that every creator needs to know so that they don't get sued and don't get in trouble.
This is the beauty and nightmare of living in the US, right? You can sue and be sued by anyone. So if you don't have an LLC up that veils, that protects you, then your personal assets might get touched.
What do creators need to know about brand deals?
So usage means that brands can use it however they want. I think usage rights is really important for creators to understand.
What are the most important legal agreements or contracts that YouTubers should have in place if they're starting out? Your YouTube channel might be at risk. And in this episode of the Think Media podcast, we're going to be talking about the legal side of YouTube. We're going to be talking about some things that every creator needs to know so that they don't get sued and don't get in trouble, and some of the biggest legal mistakes creators make. But we're going to be kicking it off with also some of just the fundamentals to make sure that your YouTube channel, your online business, and your personal brand is in order right up front. Our guest today is Tyler Chow, back on the podcast. She's the creator's attorney. And Tyler, how do you introduce yourself at parties?
Thanks for that question, Sean. I'm so excited to be on again. Our last conversation was so fun, and it's really good to see that people really responded well to it. So this is how I introduce myself. I am the creator's attorney. My life's mission is to protect creators and bring them to seven-figure businesses. I've been an attorney in Hollywood for the last 16 years, and I started my own YouTube channel 2 years ago. And then I fell in love with the space and realized that a lot of creators are being taken advantage of and don't know what they don't know. And so it's really my goal to educate and protect creators. And our conversation, I think, hopefully does that.
Well, I'm excited to dive into some juicy topics. You know, some of the things creators get stuck on is maybe FTC guidelines and disclosures and affiliate marketing. Sometimes they can get in trouble with brands, and creators are getting scammed by brands a lot too, like maybe fake brands that are sliding into their DMs and their email inbox. But I actually just want to start off at a high level based on some questions from our past episode on the business of content creation. Mm-hmm. And so what are the most important legal agreements or contracts that YouTubers should have in place if they're starting out?
Well, I think we touched upon this in the last conversation. I think doing an LLC, I think employment agreements are really important. So if you have anyone working for you, whether they be editors, producers, script writers, anything that is creating content for you, I think they need to be under those contracts. I think some NDAs are helpful, right? If you want to send cease and desist to people who might be sharing confidential information that they learn while working with you or even just talking to you, right? Like maybe you want to partner with somebody or start a channel with somebody and you share information and ideas or about your channel or products or anything. I think NDAs are really important. I think, those are kind of just high level what they need. And, we talked about what do creators need? They need to pay their taxes. They need to have general liability insurance, defamation insurance. And I think trademarks are really important. I mean, it's not a contract, but it is a legal protection because as we see the future flood of creators who are going to come in, you look at all the laid off tech people, you look at traditional Hollywood, where there's less and less TV and film now. I'm sure you've heard it. People are like wanting to come into the creator space to create content, because I think that's the American dream, where you can, where else do you get to make a video where millions of people will see it, right? That's
Yes.
YouTube.
The dream is real, and the creator economy is estimated to grow and double even in the next couple of years. And you're referencing part one of our conversation, which I'll link to in the show notes, and I encourage listeners to check that out after this episode. But when it comes to contractors, let's say you hired somebody on Upwork. Probably one of the most common things is somebody jumps on an online Fiverr.com. Do you think you're liable or vulnerable if you just outsource some editing or thumbnail design to someone on Fiverr and you don't have a contract with them?
I'm pretty cool. Oh, you're killing it.
I'm here for
Your annual eye exam.
because I'm having trouble
Reading.
Exactly.
They sort of make me feel
Like I'm the most fabulous thing you've ever seen?
exactly.
I'll take them.
Job search? Tailor your resume to the role with Microsoft 365, now with Copilot.
Great question. I have not looked at the terms of service for Fiverr or Upwork. I would hope that they have some type of language in there, but I don't know, right? I think it is so much better to have a template, and I am actually selling. I mean, you know, based off of our last conversation, so many people reached out to me that now I didn't before, but I will start selling a shorter template, right? Versus the kind of full length ones that I do for my clients, where you can just have them sign. It's a short one where it says everything you do for me is owned by me. Because what you don't want is for them to have your content that they're either editing for you or filming for you, and they say, well, I own that because for whatever reason they believe so. And if you don't have a piece of paper that says otherwise, then I think that leaves you exposed.
Yeah, that's super smart. And we'll link to your resources in the description down below. And I just think about these types of investments are just critical, because it might seem up front like, this is that. You know, this is all that details. I just want to make videos, but protecting yourself is huge. And reference episode number 1 to check out. You mentioned, maybe you don't have to start an LLC day one, but didn't you say maybe if you're earning $1,000 or $2,000 a month consistently, and you're maybe hiring in a video editor or somebody, that you really want to start having this stuff in order?
Well, I actually wanted to clarify that. I actually just meant $1,000 or $2,000 a year, because I think that's how much it costs to set up I mean, it's even less than that, right? It's probably a few $100s to set up an LLC. I think here's the threshold. If you own your house, if you own a 401k, if you own any assets that you don't want to be touched during a litigation or someone who's suing you, let's say you do a brand deal and they get sick, let's say it's a supplement. I'm making this up, right? Like it's a supplement, they get sick, they're going to sue you, they're going to sue the brand. If you don't have an LLC up that veils, that protects you, then your personal assets might get touched. And here's the thing, you will say, well, how could I get sued? This is the beauty and nightmare of living in the US, right? You can sue and be sued by anyone. And once you get sued, you have to hire an attorney to defend you in that litigation. And I have a client right now who did nothing wrong, who was just a simple employee. He's paid over $100,000 trying to defend himself, trying to get out of this lawsuit. And he's had to file bankruptcy because he has no money left. But he still has to keep borrowing money basically to try to defend himself. Because if you don't defend yourself, then a default judgment gets entered against you, and that follows you for life. Every job that you go to they will take that paycheck. So it's something you can't just get sued and say, well, I'm just not going to defend myself. which I think a lot of people might think, well, I had nothing to do with it. Once you're named in a complaint, you have to answer and you have to defend yourself.
And so LLC stands for limited liability company. If you have one, then like worst case scenario, your LLC goes bankrupt. Worst case scenario, that protection is crushed, but your assets, your house, your cars are not touched, correct?
Yes, and whatever, money you might have in your checking account for the business, that, whatever assets the business owns might be touched. So if you have a lot of equipment, I mean, look, most of us don't have, maybe not you. I think you're different, but I don't own, I probably own a couple $1,000s worth of equipment, right? And that might be touched, but that's really it, whatever the business owns.
Which, as a side note, at a much lower legal level, I know my wife, who's our CFO, has been so helpful on handling a lot of the details of our business. It's funny to say CFO too, like, because we're some small town kids. I'm the CEO. We were just talking about today, like, what, whatever. We're just trying to figure this thing out. But there was some stuff we did, at least early on. This isn't legal protection, but if you do have a lot of equipment you're investing in, you want to list that on maybe your homeowner's insurance.
Yes.
And if we're up to or renter's insurance. Most probably don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but over time, it's easy to have $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a year. And that's just kind of a tip to be thoughtful if you have serial numbers, photos, and things like that of the stuff that you have. Again, that just might be some protection. Okay, so different legal agreements that they could get in place. What about intellectual property? As content creators are thinking about A, what they're saying in their videos themselves. B, maybe they put what they know into an online course. They write a book. And then C, maybe they try to create some original characters or whatnot. And I've heard a big debate in this arena that it's kind of hard to defend IP of your ideas at some point. But what are your thoughts on this?
30 years, it's always been one sacred gift, blooming with benefits. One purpose, to share that gift with everyone. What will be your one? Synergy, the real kombucha.
Where regular brushes miss, Oral-B Electric hits for 100% cleaner teeth.
Hello, handsome. And hello, random chair. Clean up with Apple Intelligence means goodbye, chair. iPhone 16e. Latest iPhone, greatest price.
Explore spring style in-store or shop online at alteredstate.com.
I want some Barker Moose from the new Assassin's Creed Shadows. Let's go. This is getting scary now.
So ideas are not protected. You are correct. However, did you know that every time we put a video up on YouTube, it is automatically copyrighted? You don't have to go to the copyright office, and you can, by the way, you can, but no one will really do that unless you do a movie that's an hour long and you think this could be pirated or I need to protect this. You could officially go to the copyright office and get it copyrighted. But every time we put out our videos on YouTube, it is automatically protected. So anything you put in a tangible form, whether it be a book, a video, a song that's broadcasted, those are protected. But an idea, you're right. Like you and I talking about an idea, that's not protected. So for the things that you've mentioned, I think names, mottos, sayings, there are things about a business that you could protect through a trademark or a patent, if it's something that is protectable by a patent.
You made a video too about a saying, and you suggested there was a creator that actually should trademark her saying because it started to be used as a meme. Do you remember that story?
Yes, the very demure, very mindful. So I got into a fight with another lawyer on LinkedIn because he said, well, that's just a fleeting, fancy. You don't need to protect that. Anybody could have said that and anybody could have made it blow up like that. And I disagree because I think Jules is a certain type of creator who a lot of people respect and like. And I think because she said that saying, it became very viral. And I believe, so the story, in case people don't know, some third party unrelated to the original creator went and basically stole it and went to trademark it. And wow. I thought that was incredibly wrong because this person is just a bad actor. I say lazy, right? You're just stealing people's trending saying. And I really urge Jules and her team to go trademark it because I think once you have that, you are more valuable. I always want my clients, my creator clients, to think about themselves as a business and think about an exit in mind. Most creators probably won't make content for the rest of their lives. They like it, but as you know, after 5 years, 10 years, it really, it can be a recipe for burnout if you're only relying on AdSense and brand deals. If you have your own business, you launch your own products, then you have more control over it. But I think a lot of buyers, like private equity funds who want to buy channels or buy businesses that creators create, they like to look at your IP. What if you trademark? What do you own? And having a portfolio of trademarks makes your business just so much more valuable.
I love that mindset. Before we go on to the next category, I'm curious, for those listening that want to think of this as a long-term business and want to be smart, and listening to this podcast, of course, an hour of legal advice is $1,000 plus. So this podcast is, super valuable to think about. And of course, this is also not official advice. This is
not legal advice. Yes,
I have. Legal advice. It is general,
yes.
But priceless nonetheless. Out of your clients, of course, leaving them anonymous, what are the issues? Like, where are they failing? What are the things that if they would have done it differently, they wouldn't be in the trouble they are with now? And we get the price of advice of maybe learning from their mistakes. Do you want to get your first or next 1,000 subscribers on YouTube faster? For the first time ever, we are hosting a free one-day event at videogrowthday.com. During this one-day online event, you will learn our step-by-step YouTube success system for getting views, subscribers, and making money. You'll get to connect with the Think Media team and be a part of community, conversation, and a bunch of cool giveaways. And you'll leave with your personalized YouTube game plan for success. So to register, just go to videogrowthday.com or click the link in the show notes. Now, let's jump back into the episode.
What a great question. One of the biggest things that I'm doing is unwinding partnership.
Turn the place you live into the home you love with Bob's Discount Furniture. When you shop at Bob's, you never have to sacrifice on style or settle for phony sales. You get the lowest price every day on family-proof sofas, beautiful bedrooms, delightful dining sets, lush mattresses, and trendy decor, with flexible financing options to fit your budget. So stop in and start to build your dream home at Bob's Discount Furniture, the fastest growing furniture store in the country.
Partnership situations. You start a YouTube channel with your best friend. A few years later, you have a falling out. You want to exit somebody out of the channel. So who owns the channel? Most of the time there isn't a contract in place, and that becomes a problem. Then it becomes a race to, well, who has control of the YouTube channel? Who can, block out access? I don't want that to happen. Just have a partnership agreement from day one. Agree that you both own 50% of the channel. Agree that if someone no longer wants to do it, they can buy the other person out, or there just has to be some exit strategy as to what happens when you want to wind the channel down, or if you want to stay on and somebody else wants to leave, or if you want to take a different direction. What happens when you have a dispute and you're 50-50? Do you bring in a third party to help you resolve that? I mean, these are mechanisms that I can put in place in a partnership agreement. I'm unwinding a lot of these predatory agreements out there where these companies are giving loans to creators. I don't know if you know about these, Sean, but they're loans with really, really loan shark-like terms. they have to keep making content at a certain pace. And if they don't, then these companies threaten to take their channels away. They go talk to brands that they're working with to badmouth them. I mean, this is a very dark, I'm probably going to make a whole video about this, but it's a very dark thing that's happening to a lot of creators right now. And I'm really worried and angry about it. And I'm really debating if I want to call these companies out on LinkedIn and just kind of openly say, stop doing this. But I'm on the fence about it.
Would you not say a name of a company here?
No, I would definitely not.
What
But if you're
macro,
I'm sorry.
What are like the terms? So then what are maybe like, so what they're doing is they're giving you a loan, but then in the fine print too, they've got some stuff that's maybe like, and if you don't, we get your channel, or if you don't,
yes.
And then then we have maybe high interest kind of things and stuff.
It's the termination. There was one client where he got $100,000. 50% of it was taken away in taxes because of the way they
structured it.
Jeez. And it was a $50,000 termination fee. And my client was almost on the verge of a nervous breakdown by the time he came to me. And I went to battle against this company, and I said, and they took more money than they should have. They took it from his brand deals. And so I said, let's go to court. I would love to get you in front of a judge. And I actually was able to get my client out of that deal without paying a dime, because I said, I didn't threaten them. I just said, let's go in front of a judge and let's talk about all the money you've taken. Let's talk about how fair this is. And my client, I've had a lot of creator clients cry to me, and I'm so grateful that I can make such a deep difference in their lives, because sometimes they have no idea what to do. Like when they lose their channels or when they get demonetized or copyright strikes. The fact that I can sometimes help is really, really meaningful, and it makes a world of difference for me.
Man, this is so good. So be very careful about going into partnerships in business and in YouTube channels, and sit down with somebody to get a partnership agreement from day one. Avoid predatory loans and be really thoughtful there. And so those are such good pieces of advice. I want to talk about influencer marketing and FTC guidelines. Of course, anybody listening to this, even if they're just starting, and even if they post a video on YouTube or anywhere on social media, we've all seen it where maybe you're supposed to say hashtag ad, and do you give a verbal disclosure? But if we dig in, a couple stories. Back in 2019, there was the landmark case where YouTube was fined for violating COPPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, and that was an FTC thing ultimately, and that shifted things a lot. We had in 2022, the Kardashians were warned for failing to properly disclose paid partnerships on social media. And in 2023, the FTC updated its endorsement guides to clarify disclosure requirements for influencers, emphasizing clear and conspicuous disclosure of any material connection to brands. At a high level, what do you think the mistakes, or what do creators need to know about affiliate marketing, brand deals, disclosures, and maybe where they could get into trouble here?
So there was a third bucket that I forgot to mention from the last question, which is something else I'm really working on with creators, is equity deals. I think if you're a high-level creator who is doing 5 to 6 figure brand deals, you should be asking for equity. And so I just wanted to highlight that, because a lot of creators, I will say this to them, huge creators, and they will say, oh, I had no idea I could be asking for equity. But I think Alex Earl taking equity in Poppy, Joe Rogan taking equity in Carnivore Snacks, and of course there's 50 Cent who took equity in Vitamin Water and had a very nice exit. I think I just want to put that on the map for creators at least. But
so to be clear, that's kind of also, rather than like a mistake to avoid a bad partnership, it's a mistake to just take 5 figures for a brand deal instead of thinking about equity, because you might be getting the short end of the deal. And creators, this is probably at least for mid-sized creators, would you say?
Probably,
five figures
yeah.
is going to be
Yeah.
10,000, or five figures you're doing $50,000 deals.
Probably on the higher end. However, if you, and this is something I truly believe in, you don't have to be a huge creator to have a huge impact, right? I know you agree with this. There are small creators out there who are such experts in their space. Like this morning, I spoke to a tennis creator. She's not a huge creator, but she has such deep impact with tennis brands. And so just, she might have, let's say she has 10,000. I don't know, actually 10,000 on YouTube, but her impact, and she has gotten equity. So my point is, don't necessarily tie what I just said to, oh, I shouldn't think about this. No, you should be thinking about it from day one. If you're an expert who's just starting their YouTube channel, but you are a doctor or a lawyer or a mechanic or an engineer who can give advice to these startups who are starting, then you can ask for equity from day one. Don't just think because I have a small channel or I haven't been doing brand deals. Think about your position and your value to the company coming to you, wanting to work with you. If you're like my client, the tennis creator, she's a small creator, but she has so much value because she's been a tennis player for 20 years. So think about it that way, right? Like, what is the value you're giving to the company? Don't think I shouldn't ask for this. Ask for everything. All they can do is say no, but I think you should be thinking about equity way sooner than most creators are thinking about it.
Sure.
At Granger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way. Offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Cheese in it too.
If we go a little bit deeper on that, we'll come back to the disclosures. I think, this kind of makes me think of also UGC creators and just the idea that user-generated content is a whole niche in and of itself. And you, the person, your ability to create videos, the way you look, the way you sound, your charisma, your history, and what you're saying too, your expertise. You might be day one on YouTube or social. You might have 1,000 subscribers, you're growing that up, but your depth and your expertise, what would it cost for that brand to hire you? If they hired you, they'd probably give you a six-figure salary if you went and worked for them full-time as a face, as a voice, with that level of authority.
Yes.
So now a small YouTube channel is worth way over six figures, depending on your background. And in that case, now you're able to maybe negotiate from a different perspective. Am I thinking correctly?
Totally, because we're seeing more professionals starting YouTube channels, right, who have an expertise in something. So I think I love that example you gave. Think of it as six figures. I tell my clients when they're about to accept equity deals that it should be cash plus equity. And the cash is basically the services you're providing. If they're asking you for 5 to 10 hours a month, equate that to what is your hourly rate. If they're wanting your expertise, if they're wanting you to, go talk to people in the tennis space or go talk to, this manufacturer or give us advice on, as a tennis expert, like how would you figure out X, Y, and Z? This is something that they do not have information. And then you typically would pay a consultant, right? Companies pay consultants all the time for their expertise. So think of yourself as a consultant to the company, and what would you ask in that sense? So I think sometimes asking $2,000 to $5,000 a month for your expertise, depending on your level, plus equity is very fair.
If we stay on brand deals, at what point do you think it's essential to get an attorney involved? And one of your passions is helping creators earn more money. And is it your belief that most creators could also just charge more besides just equity if they understood things better or maybe had a second opinion, an outside perspective like yours?
Totally. I have a client on LinkedIn who's huge. And when I first met him, he was making probably 2 to 3 times less. And I asked him, I said, how much are you asking for your posts on LinkedIn? And he said something less than 4 figures. And I said to him, you should be making 4 to 5 figures. And because of that one advice from me, he started asking for more. I think most creators just don't ask for enough money. They think, oh my goodness, someone wants to give me $500 for a video. Amazing. If you ask the brand what their budget was and how many creators are in the campaign, those two questions could probably help you figure out how much you should ask for. When I step into a deal, I usually 2 to 4x the original offer because I asked a bunch of questions. And I have no problem asking for more money for my clients. Now, a lot of us have trouble asking for more money for ourselves. I don't know what psychological block there is. We just feel like we're not worthy or entitled to that. I have no trouble. If someone offers you 10,000, I could say 50,000. Like, I have no trouble doing that. So if you have a manager or an attorney who can do that for you, I think that would be very helpful to just get you away from that lower, current price that you have yourself set at.
I bet 99% of creators can relate to that, including myself. I think on the one hand, I intrinsically know my value, but yet I still hedge a little bit. And that's partly the power of the third person, is just to kind of represent you and not flinch, like not kind of waffle around a little bit. So I'm like, oh, and the creator in me is also, like still hustling, still kind of maybe sometimes thinking small. You just get somebody that's objectively more disconnected from it with expertise like yourself. And it's pretty wild to think that from a little bit of difference in negotiation, that you can just instantly start charging 2 to 3 times more per brand deal, no matter what size of creator you are, simply because of understanding your value. Is there things that happen that you notice where brands, essentially how creators could avoid getting screwed over by brands because of contracts or terms or things that have happened to your clients?
I think most creators, especially younger ones, newer ones don't understand usage rights or, just whitelisting, boosting, things that are in addition. They just think, oh, I'm just giving you a video, but you don't realize what the brand takes your video and does with it. And a lot of times that part the creator gets screwed on, because they say, okay, here's $1,000, and then the brand ends up using it. They don't even realize that you can ask for usage. Usage is 10 to 30% of the base price for every 30 days. If they want control of your channel or they want to put paid ads behind you, that's something you should ask for more money. And I think a lot of creators don't even understand what those are. And sometimes brands or the agencies that they hire to manage the campaign sometimes will not pay creators. That's also something I deal with a lot for big creators, is 6-figure brand deals not getting paid. Typically the brand will pay, but they will pay the agency, and then the agency holds on to it and doesn't pay because for whatever reason, right? Bad management, but they will do this terrible Ponzi pyramid where they will pay a creator from their last paycheck, even though it wasn't the paycheck for that creator. Right. And it's a bad trickle down effect. So, and I've known a lot of creators who are not paid, and it's $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, and they think, well, what's the point? It's going to cost me that much to hire an attorney anyway. I would say that, it costs me not that much of my time to send a letter out for a lot of creators. I've done that. I've done just a one-time demand letter, and they typically pay. Sometimes they don't pay the full price, but at least you're getting something, because their sob story will be, well, we're going under or we're struggling, but here's 50%. And that's better than nothing.
It's interesting, because I think creators listening to this might not realize how common it is that maybe you could struggle getting paid from brands. Them not paying, it could be bad management. And we've learned too that good brands that usually typically end up paying, sometimes 3 months passes, 6 months passes, sometimes it's taken a year to actually get payment. There's like a French Montana and Drake song that says, hopping out the jet, Lears, don't call me till the check clears. And one of the things I've learned is that until the check clears, you don't have the money. Like, until you got the money in your bank account, you don't have the money in your bank account. And that's very hard for creator businesses that depend on, I got this great brand deal. It might be tough if you're cash strapped though for a year, and so having diversity.
Totally. And
yeah, go ahead.
And it makes me so mad because you can't go to Best Buy and buy a TV and say, I'm going to pay you in 90 days and take the TV out. That it just doesn't work that way. But yet creators are being asked to basically cash flow, the company sometimes for, like you said, 3, 6, 12 months. And I used to work in Hollywood, Disney, Skydance, BuzzFeed, and actors don't fly until the money is in escrow at the agencies, right? They will not get on an airplane to go on location unless that money is there. And so that is something that I would love to be able to do for creators, but that's a whole other thing that, us taking on that, or even do creators join SAG? I mean, that could be another conversation altogether, but I think there's a lot of things that need to change and procedures need to be there. I think having advocates, I mean, I'm one person, but I do think me shouting very loudly at companies and does change their policy. There was one agency out there that was just not paying creators, and I called them out. I did call them out on LinkedIn because someone else called them out, but I was doing a deal with them currently at that moment with a big creator, and I said, if you don't pay, and actually because of what happened, I was able to ask for 50% upfront upon signature before we even started work, because I have sort of that leverage, and I can shout very loudly, and I know kind of, people in the industry that you can't do this to creators. And I'm on that soapbox, shouting for creators who can't do it themselves.
This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. StreamYard is our go-to platform here at Think Media for live streaming to Facebook and YouTube, and for recording our video podcast. It has an incredibly easy to use interface for built-in branding, transitions, text lower thirds, and seamlessly bringing on guests. And they just added an awesome new feature called local recording. This allows you to take the quality to another level by separating out your audio and video from your guests, giving you more control over your content for later use. This feature is perfect for video and podcast creators, and so to get a special deal on StreamYard right now and to see all the features that are included, just go to streamwiththink.com. That is streamwiththink.com.
I want to go back to also usage rights to clarify. What creators don't realize is that they might do a brand deal, they get $1,000, they post a video, but in the contract, that brand took usage rights, and now they're running paid ads using your likeness and your media, and they're doing it for the next 5 years.
Or forever, Sean, right?
Forever. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask you, because young creators definitely know this, including myself, and you also don't even realize who you may become. Whatever, like, so you're a new creator, you're like, I just need $1,000. You can't even imagine that someday you might have a silver play button or beyond, and what might, your influence be. Let me ask you this. So if you did one of those brand deals, and then can you ever get out of it? Like if you
yes,
signed away usage rights and they're still using it, and you're like, okay, it's 7 years later, my prominence is, bigger, I'm more established, and yet they're still running ads on my likeness, and maybe their product has even gone downhill. You're like, it's been so long, it was great then, and now it's different, times have changed, but they're still just kind of milking your likeness. What's your advice here?
Or that the brand is so big now that they should be paying you. I have certainly gone back to brands and companies and renegotiated those deals, and I have been successful because they know what they did was wrong, and they know that what they did was taking advantage. And I just say to them, this is taking advantage. Do you know that story of that actor Simu, who he was on he's one of the actors, on the he was the dragon, in the Marvel, the Asian Marvel movie, and when he was starting out as an actor, he was an extra, and he did this short little commercial as like corporate guy number 3 or something. And so now that company owns that stock footage and uses it everywhere, and he tried to go back and buy the stock footage back, but because he gave in perpetuity rights, he couldn't buy it back, and they were not incentivized to sell it back to him. So now they use that to run advertising, and he's a huge star now. He's a Marvel actor. That's to your point. When you're starting out as a creator, you don't think about it. But what happens in a few years if you have 1 million subscribers and you're doing big brand deals, and there's this thing floating out there, and that brand is so usage means that they can run it on their own channels, on their own websites. They can use it to basically run campaigns however they want, and it's something that I think usage rights is really important for creators to understand.
Man, that's really interesting. I do want to close the loop on the influencer marketing FTC guidelines.
Yes.
So disclosures, and again, I think the Kardashians were just warned, and
Actually, they were fined, Sean.
Oh, they were? Okay.
He was fined, yeah. It was like 6 figures because they wanted to make an example of her. It was a crypto campaign.
Okay, and that might have. Oh, yeah. Okay, so they failed to disclose they've been paid to promote cryptocurrency investment schemes. They ended up being fined.
Yes.
So, what's your advice here?
Disclose so extensively. There are 3 ways you should, according to the FTC. You need to make sure, right, if it's on YouTube, toggle the paid promotions button. You need to say it out loud, right? This video is sponsored by X, Y, and Z. You need to have it on screen somewhere or in the descriptions. I actually maybe 4 different ways. Like, as many ways as you can disclose that you're being paid for this sponsorship, this review. What the FTC wants to be so careful about is they want the consumer, right, the viewers who are watching it, to understand that you, Sean, if you're talking about a product but you were paid for it, that's maybe going to give you a different type of review than if you were to say, I bought this with my own money. How often have you guys bought camera or whatever, and you said, we bought this because we wanted to give a neutral, our neutral opinion?
And it's a leveraged point because most people, I think there's mistrust, or you want there to be transparency, but what level of trust can you have when you're like, and I think what a lot of people say is they say, listen, I can totally share my opinion. This was sent to me for free. Getting paid for a product review is actually something I think we either don't do it or 99% of the time we won't do it. I'm like, there's no such thing as getting paid for a product review. Getting a free, I mean, there is such a thing, but I'm like, I just, now I'm incentivized because I'm getting money. If I get the product free with no holds bar, right? Like, hey, I can say whatever I want. All they did was send us a review unit and listen, here's my thoughts. I like that. And then the point is to disclose it, right?
Yes. And that's a great point. Even if it's free, you can say, I think there's hashtag gifted or hashtag free, and just as long as they understand that you got it, because sometimes even free is a gift. And the FTC just wants the viewer to understand, how did you get this product? And so they understand your motivations. And it's harder, I think, when it's paid or gifted, to give maybe a neutral opinion about it. That's really my opinion. So
there's probably 3 levels. If you got paid money to review it, that's like the least bias. If you got it free, but you maybe get I trust a lot of creators because they're like a tech review factory. They just get lots of headphones sent to them, lots of cameras sent to them, and they develop maybe a level of trust in their opinion. But they certainly, I think then that 3rd level is the highest level. When a creator jumps on and goes, so the camera I decided to purchase,
right,
which might also be like, hey, out of everything, this is what I spent my own money on, or I did buy this myself regardless, and I don't love it, or I do love it. So that's interesting. Keep going.
So disclose everywhere. I would say over disclose. Now, I understand a lot of times creators don't want to do that because they think, oh, it's like annoying or it's too much information. But I would say the FTC is cracking down on creators. And I think the example you mentioned with Kim Kardashian is a good one. They're realizing, I think the FTC is realizing how much money is going into the creator marketing space. And they want to make sure that people are disclosing that they are getting paid sponsorships, or that they're investors, right? Or or they're getting equity, even that they're somehow an owner in the business, because that also will skew, right, their opinion about the product. If you know that Alex Earl is now a part owner in Poppy, you might think, well, no wonder she likes Poppy so much. She owns part of it. I don't know, right? I'm making that up, but you know what I'm saying. She might really like Poppy, but you do. The FTC just wants the consumer, the buyer, to have all the information before they decide to buy something.
Yeah, and if I'm looking this up right now, it was 2023 that they had updated endorsement guides, clear and conspicuous. Clear, easy to understand. It should be obvious to the audience that the endorser has a relationship with the brand. Conspicuous, difficult to miss. The disclosure should not be placed where it should be placed where people are likely to see it. So you might put it at the top of the description, which is where we do at Think Media. We'll say, like, earns commissions from affiliate links. We'll say this video is not capital NOT sponsored to actually, I mean, to at least frame it, like, just to be clear, this video is not sponsored. We'll use affiliate links pretty much all the time, right? If it's a book or whatever, so we disclose that. So you don't want to bury it. Conspicuous would be not hidden, but put it difficult to miss. And then they say being paid by the brand, getting free products or services from the brand, having a family or employment relationship with the brand, owning stock from the brand. When it comes to affiliate marketing, or when it comes to the YouTube box where it says includes paid promotion, if you purchase a product, which we buy lots of stuff off Amazon ourselves without a brand deal to review or to include in a video. Mm-hmm. And the video is not sponsored. We're not getting paid. We purchase the products ourselves. And we will verbally say, and hey, if you want to check out any of this stuff, there's links in the description down below. Those are our affiliate links, which means we earn commissions, or might earn commissions. Would we be okay not checking that YouTube box, or do you think that we just always should?
That's a great question, and I actually will not answer it because I don't know the answer. I need to go actually look at the kind of terms and service about that, because affiliate marketing is, I think, different in terms of what a paid promotion is, because Amazon is not paying you anything. That's what a paid promotion is.
Yeah, not up front.
Right.
Yeah.
But they haven't paid you. They haven't sent you a product. You decide to use the product and then put a link to it. I'd like to actually do a little more research. I will never say something I don't exactly know. So I want to check on that, but I don't think you need to. And I do want to answer your question about bearing the hashtags. Yes, always have it at the beginning of your description. It should be visible when they're looking at, before you click on the more, like it should be in the beginning of your description, because the FTC just wants to know that you are disclosing it to your audience and the audience gets to see it right away, that it's not buried. And I love that you have the not promote it. This is not promoted. I think what people have to realize, creators have to realize, is FTC is coming for creators. They're realizing how much money is in this space and they want to start making an example. And as we saw from the FTX situation, I mean, a lot of creators got sued because of what happened there. And the FTC wants creators to disclose, but also maybe even do some due diligence. If you're promoting a financial product like crypto, I think that's why those fines are so huge, and that's why the FTC came after the creators, was because finance is so regulated, and it's people's money, it's people's entire life savings. It could bankrupt people, so they take that very, very seriously, especially when it comes to finance products.
If we go into that, I mean, this is a massive thing. CoffeeZilla is covering Logan Paul, and he specializes really in a lot of crypto. Andrew Tate has said he wouldn't promote any crypto projects, yet has promoted many, and now is pushing one of his own. And we are seeing a lot of influencers scamming their fans through crypto, a lot of finance influencers, perhaps ignorance is not an excuse, but early on with FTX, FTX kind of fooled a lot of people, and Sam Bankman-Fried, it seemed like the best thing in town. And yet a lot of people got screwed over on that. And there's all kinds of stuff in this space in regards to giving financial advice about stocks and things pumping up like GameStop and Bed Bath and Beyond. And there's just so much happening here. What should creators know about this crypto space from your perspective? What are the dangers if you're a content creator talking about crypto finance? And how can the creators also just stay safe so they don't get scammed or sucked into this stuff?
I want to say don't do it, but I know that's maybe too strict. I think crypto endorsements are really tricky because you always have a chance that one of the crypto companies that you're endorsing is going to scam its buyers, its users. I know that there are a handful of kind of the legitimate ones, the bigger ones, and I will disclaim this by saying I don't own any crypto. I'm not an expert in crypto. There may be even crypto people who can speak better than I can, but I think you just have to be careful with any endorsement that you do. To actually do some research, ask around, maybe ask other finance creators if you're one. Hey, what do you think about this product? I saw that you did an endorsement. Maybe that's it too, right? Is seeing who else has done endorsements and talking to them, and just doing a little bit of homework before you just decide to take a paycheck, not a paycheck, like a check from a brand. Because they're offering it, and I think a lot of creators are smart. A lot of creators, when they get those very funky looking emails, will know, is this a real brand deal? Is this a fake brand? Is this a scam? I think a lot of creators also say no to brands because they're a little scared. I mean, I certainly have clients who do that, who I'm surprised they will say no. I will bring in, I manage about 30 creators. I bring brand deals to them, and some of them will just say, no, I don't want to do that. Like sometimes it's insurance, and it happens to be a big creator. Let's say it's a food creator. And she says, do I want to sell insurance? It is a paycheck, but what's a great piece of advice I love giving to my clients and creators is ask your audience, what products do you love? And then you can go show the brand, look, my audience loves you. Can we do a partnership? And then actually do that brand deal. And then your audience is blown away because you actually listen to them. That has been very successful for a lot of my clients, is to ask your audience, what products do you guys love right now? I'd love to check some out. And then that would maybe make sense. And it could be something not in their niche. And so that's, I think, something that's very powerful.
That is a super powerful tip, right? As we're landing the plane of the podcast, you got to listen to this whole episode because it's packed with so much value. But Tyler, I'm only halfway through my questions. And so we will get you on the calendar again. I want you to shout out your stuff in just a second. And I have one final question for you. But listeners, thanks for listening to this episode. And I did my best to actually run all of last 400 comments so far on part one, which will be linked up in the show notes. I ran it through Google Gemini to kind of summarize some themes, and I want to continue to listen to our Think Media podcast listeners and pass those questions along to you. So if you listen on audio, visit the YouTube version, drop in the comments on YouTube. What questions do you have about this stuff? What other topics would be helpful to cover in the future? And definitely subscribe for future episodes of the Think Media podcast, for growing your channel, getting more views, but also for staying safe and building real legacy and a solid business on solid ground. And Tyler, just acknowledge you for so much value. Now, let us know, what are some of the things you have going on? You've got communities, you've got resources. We'll make sure it's all itemized in the show notes, but shout out where people can connect with you for more.
So you can find me on my YouTube channel called Tyler Chow, the Creator's Attorney. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm actually writing on there several times a week. I try to write every day, and just kind of everything we cover today, I do on LinkedIn. I am starting a community, and I think really based on our last conversation, Sean, it's shown me that creators really do need a space where they can come get legal advice, that they can maybe talk to other creators as they're starting out or even further along in their journey. And I think I'm going to launch I'm going to open it up. I think I'm going to have a Black Friday sale. So if you join then, it'll be at a discounted rate. But I'm probably going to launch it in either December or January. It's going to be on Mighty Networks, and it will feature myself live probably twice a month. We'll have just a huge Q&A for creators to come in. One of my clients, Jenny Hoyas, will probably, some of my clients will come on and answer questions. Cassandra Bankston's another client on, how to grow your channel, questions, brand deals, different things. And I really think that creators should diversify their ways of making money. And launching a product. I'm actually helping one creator launch a cereal right now and another one do press-on nails. Like, I'm just getting to be an expert in all these different things. So I'll cover kind of in those 12 months with me in my community how to launch a product and how to do different things to make money. Like, I'm being the guinea pig. I'm doing the community to see, like, this is a good idea. Capture your email list. I think that's so important. Start asking your audience for their emails, and do affiliates. I mean, I think, Sean, you're really good at that. I'm just starting to do that. One of the products I really love right now is called High Level. It's a CRM. It's a system that it's replaced my Calendly, my DocuSign. It sends out mass SMS for your YouTube and Instagram audience, and I've been using it and I love it. And so check them out. We can hopefully have the links down below, but I will have the wait list for my community. I'll share that with you, Sean, and maybe you can put in the description. That would be great. Because I think it's something that a lot of people are asking for, and you'll be able to buy templates from me as well, like independent contractors, employee, NDAs, anything. I'm very much, hey, Tyler, I need this as a creator, and I will really think about making that for you, because this is my life's mission, is to protect creators and grow you guys all to be 7-figure creators.
Well, we'll make sure that all of that is in the show notes. One short answer to the final question. What do you think is the right mindset for creators in 2025? Or what is the mindset going into the opportunity, but also maybe how they could navigate in terms of seizing the opportunity and staying safe in the creator economy in 2025?
And all this money is pouring in, private equity funds, Hollywood, like traditional. I had a conversation yesterday with one of this huge studio owner who wants to know how to start a YouTube channel. I mean, it blew me away. I mean, he's a dad at my son's school, but he was like, I was sharing with him what I was doing. He's like, oh my God, I have to buy you lunch because I want to find out how to start a YouTube channel. I mean, he has such an established brand. If I said his name, you would lose your mind, but I'm gonna not. And he's the biggest horror producer out there. I'll just leave it at that. And this is where everyone is looking. Everyone wants to become creators. So if you already started your YouTube channel, you're already ahead of all of these people who want to become creators. All the tech people who've been laid off, all the kids, all the teenagers, all of the traditional TV and film people who are out of work right now because film and TV is drastically been slashed with production. They all want to come into the YouTube space because, like I said, it's the American dream. Where else can you make a video and millions of people can see it immediately? There's nowhere else. And so I think be excited, realize that you're in the right place. Sean and Think Media is such an amazing resource for you as you're starting. So I'm so excited for all the creators who are listening.
Future is bright for the creator economy. In the creator economy, like, rate, review, subscribe for future episodes. My name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel, and this is the Think Media Podcast. We'll catch you in the next one.
get that. It's just when there's a giant explosion behind us, maybe it's not the best time to walk in slow motion.
It's the only time to walk in slow motion.
Check out these deals of the week at Walgreens. Shop weekly deals at your store or at walgreens.com.
Today's video, I want to share with you a simple framework that changed my life. And this is actually a 3-step system that anybody can follow to help you stand out on YouTube right now. Truth is that competition is rising, but there's still massive opportunity on YouTube. And so we're going to be breaking down the 5 mistakes that keep people stuck from their channel not growing, from sort of just blending in with the sea of sameness. And instead, by following this framework, we're going to learn how to stand out on YouTube, get more views, and grow in a 2025 environment. This is the YouTube brand blueprint, how small channels can grow fast in a crowded YouTube space. And I think about the story of David and Goliath, when I think about the challenges on YouTube right now. It's a great picture of the challenges, kind of just in online marketing and social media. David, a young shepherd, faced the giant Goliath, a seemingly invincible warrior who's terrorizing his people. And sometimes the YouTube algorithm and like making content and standing out, it seems invincible. It seems impossible. And David had many disadvantages: his size, his strength, his experience. He was a total underdog, which in 2025, I don't blame you for feeling that way. Like, there's established YouTubers, they got bigger budgets. There's established business owners, they have years of a head start. So you might feel like my channel is small. I don't have the strength, the resources. I don't have the experience. But when you think about it, despite his size and strength disadvantage, David, armed with only a sling, stones, and faith, ultimately defeated Goliath. Well, what are some of the insights? One, David didn't try to fight Goliath on his own terms. He used his unique advantage to position himself for victory. And so in this session, we want to be discovering your unique advantage. As a new YouTube creator, you might feel small against established giants. How do you overcome the odds and how do you find success? Well, we're not gonna fight the competition based on their strength. We want to identify your slingshot, your strength, to position you to win. So in today's session, we're going to go through this proven framework for turning your YouTube channel into a profitable business. We're going to cover the 5 common mistakes that hurt YouTube growth, the secret weapon top YouTubers use to build magnetic brands that attract loyal viewers, and how to achieve part-time or full-time income sooner than you ever thought possible. In fact, I'm about to save you 3 years of painful YouTube mistakes that I made myself. See, the framework that we're going to be talking about, I needed when I started, and it's the exact system that finally unlocked my channel's growth. And in just a few minutes, you're going to figure out what took me years to figure out. See, these eventually, I got a silver play button, 3 of them, a gold play button. But I didn't start there. I started with a small channel, disadvantaged, without much resources, with no audience, starting at 0, which is where everybody starts, right? And I started with uncertainty, no skill, and a massive case of imposter syndrome. But even what happened next is kind of funny. Because I'm like, all right, let me start making some videos. And so here was one of the first videos I made. It was about my quarter life crisis. I made it at 28. I don't know if that's quarter life, but if you're living to 100, and if you look at this video, you would have thought like, okay, I'm about to have like a fitness channel or something, right? And so really, I was the ultimate jack of all trades YouTuber, jumping from niche to niche like a caffeinated kangaroo. Because then shortly thereafter, I posted a travel video with doing a GoPro in this Las Vegas Fremont experience kind of thing. And so I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I'm going to be a vlogger. I'm going to be a travel vlogger. So I'm like fitness YouTuber to travel vlogger. I have zero credentials to do like, you know, really anything. And then next I was a cooking channel. So of course that'd be the logical next video, right? You know, then it was like recipe for garlic green beans. And you know what's funny is if you look closely on that video got 72,000 views, which kind of went to my head at first. All of a sudden I was like, maybe I should really double down on cooking. Like I must be Anthony Bourdain. Like I am Martha Stewart, you know, like 72,000 views. But it was kind of sending me in the wrong direction. I had so many different ideas, and maybe you can relate. Do you have multi-passions, multi-channels you want to start, multiple different ideas for your channel? Do you feel stuck and constrained? Like, I don't want to niche down. I need to express myself. I need to express my creativity. You're not alone if you feel that way. But it actually got worse because then I posted a video about tech reviews, and I stumbled onto like a really good idea. That's what I ended up doing today, which is ironic because I should have stuck with it, but nope, didn't stick with it. Instead pivoted to movie reviews. And so then I posted my amazing Spider-Man movie review. Have you seen it? Exactly. Neither has anybody else. Like it was not a successful pivot. So then I changed and switched back to vlogging. And as you can see, this is my Las Vegas horseback riding episode. And so I was all over the place. And my poor subscribers, you know, the few of them that there were probably thinking, what is this channel even about? Like, what are you doing? And again, after all of that, I wasn't done. I convinced myself that daily vlogging was the answer. If I just posted enough content, fame would magically appear, right? Spoiler alert, that's not how any of this works. And so this kind of reveals a couple common creator mistakes. There's 5 of them. One is creating without strategy. Like one of the things that can happen is we start YouTube, right? And we start posting content, but like there's no plan, there's no strategy to it. That was definitely what I did, right? I post my first video, I'm all over the place. Another mistake is chasing trends without expertise or experience. So jumping on trends is a great opportunity on YouTube. We recommend it. We teach it in our program. But just chasing trends that you don't have a passion for or depth in or any experience in or any sustained curiosity about, you know, I was kind of like just all over the place, kind of chasing views instead of starting with the end in mind and a better approach, which is what we're going to cover in today's 3-part framework. Now, another thing I lacked was clear channel identity. I mean, I had an identity crisis. Like, you know, oh, Sean, that's that movie review, vlogger, travel, fitness guy, you know, right? Who's doing tech reviews. Wow, that's a lot of conflicting ideas. And so creators struggle if you don't have a clear channel identity. How can anyone really follow you? And how can they even know what your channel is about or why they should follow you? And every year this gets more important because there's just too much noise and too much content in the world for me to land on your YouTube channel and not understand if it's something I'm interested in or not. It's worth writing this down. If you confuse, you lose. If your brand is confusing, your channel is confusing, if your last 10 videos are posted and I'm like, I don't even know maybe, what is this channel about? If you confuse, you lose. What is the clear channel identity? Now, another mistake is having no monetization plan. Random efforts, random videos, a random approach with no money plan leads to an empty bank account. And that was certainly my experience. Because even if you do gather enough views, because you get lucky on one of your green beans cooking videos and actually do get subscribers and do get views, the problem is your AdSense checks could be $2 or $20 or even $200 or even $2,000, but you're grinding your face off and you're still falling short of your mortgage. You still don't really have like an online business. You just have these random hoping to go viral, hoping to get magically famous, and the approach is doomed to fail. Number 5 is spreading yourself too thin. I was spreading myself too thin. See, I made all these mistakes. It was kind of hard to make a plan. I'm just doing all this different stuff. I'm I don't blame people being confused publicly because it's like I was confused internally. You know, one of the things I've learned about leadership, which I really believe content creators and YouTubers are leaders, because you are gathering followers and subscribers that are following you somewhere, even if that's to be funny or on a journey, or that's cooking, or that's fitness, or that's how to save money on your taxes. You're like, oh, that's my go-to person. Like, that's the person. But how can anybody follow you if you don't know where you're going? So we're going to be unpacking today a framework that's going to help us get aligned with who are you? What are your values? What is your vision? What is your passion? How does that align with what the market wants? And so that you don't feel fragmented and frazzled and all over the place, but that you're able to get some clarity for moving faster and getting better results. So everything changed for me when I discovered what I call the 3P framework. And we have 3 tips today. And tip number 1 is this 3P framework. And so I want you to use the 3P framework to identify your most powerful and profitable channel topic. And I want you to be open-minded. If you're starting from scratch, you're in a great spot because you really have a blank slate on which to build. But I also want to challenge you. Maybe you've been doing YouTube for a while. Maybe you actually have an established channel. And one of the reasons you may be stuck or not growing is because you are not aligned with your best channel topic. You're not aligned with ultimately your strengths and what the market is demanding. And so if you're in the wrong place, like you want to be at the right time, you want to be in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. You want to get alignment, and this 3P framework will help you whether you're established or just starting from scratch. And so you can draw a Venn diagram in 3 circles overlapping. And let's break each of these down. And this is going to be kind of like an interactive workshop for you to think through your channel and your brand. And the first of the 3 Ps is passion. The first is the 3 Ps is passion. And so here's your goal, though. Even if you're established, I want to challenge you to write down 5 to 10 passions right now. 5 to 10 things that would qualify as a passion for you. Now, what could that include? What is the thing you love to do so much you would do it for free? Put that on the list. What do you enjoy? What lights you up? Now, here's an interesting one. What pisses you off? This identifies deeper and authentic passion. What breaks your heart and makes you cry? The thing that makes you cry is a lot of times a clue of your why. You want a why that makes you cry. The thing that breaks your heart, the thing like, man, I want to see change of that. I want to see a difference. It shows you're passionate about it. If you're kind of neutral, you're like, yeah, I mean, that issue matters, but it doesn't like stand out to me. So the thing that makes you angry, you know, what's kind of funny is